Ooh.
Citizens of Rukon, patrons of Dave, lovers of 8 and 9 ball, welcome to not Echoes of Chaos. Welcome to just us hanging out. What the fuck is up, Denny's?
Shut the fuck up.
So yeah, we
That's a
have
legendary
no game tonight because we are short a Riley and a Wes, and but we still want to hang out with you guys and say what was up. So ask us questions, tell us stories, make us tell you stories, and we'll probably just talk about D&D, music, the game itself, the world of Rukon at large, and lore, anything that we want to talk about. Can talk about that pineapple doesn't belong on pizza unless you're
We're not
probably
getting
anyone
involved
in
that
here
conversation.
but me.
No, we're not doing a food conversation.
not doing
again.
a
That goes
food-
really badly.
Yeah. Do you not remember the
It'll pad
incident
the
with the
runtime,
gravy?
damn it.
Wait, what was the incident with the gravy? I remember Wes breaking a mug of
It was
cereal
mostly
over his
between
head or
JD and
something.
I. We had like a 2-hour
okay. Now I do.
semi-argument.
Okay, no, we're not opening that can of
Nope.
gravy again.
We
Um,
aren't.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
So what's up? Dinosaurs, dude. Lexi, Norberto, musique.
Alberto. Musique?
I
So
see a musique, me.
I kind of have something I want to talk about.
Sure.
But I want to do a quick spoiler alert. I really want to talk about Spider-Man with you guys.
Yes.
Like in
Sure.
person. There's two things I want to talk about. I want to talk about Spider-Man and I want to talk about the Matrix. And then what legends / lore are there in Rukon?
A fucking
I wrote
lot.
some of it. There's a lot of it. I wrote some of it. Actually, the parts that I wrote, I think are going to be part of the storyline that we're headed towards, which is,
I won't confirm or deny.
just because I spend so much, there's little details of stuff that I've written about that has been mentioned, and I'm super excited about it because it just it was, I felt very inspired when we were coming up with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the thing is Rukon at its core has always been collaborative, collective storytelling. So while my brother and I created the setting and the lands and stuff like that, and we would come up with events and things of the history to base certain cultures on and things like that. At its core, we still do accept a lot of what all the players kind of want, and if they decide that there was something that inspired maybe part of their backstory, we might create a whole location and important historical figures based on that may go further back and be more important than even the events of the campaign in which they took place. So I always love when any players or anyone has great ideas to add to the world, because that's what makes it better, is the diversity of thought and ideas that go into it.
The only reason that I mention that what I have of lore being in the story is just a lot of what we've talked about is being alluded to, and story-wise of what we've heard, especially with we discussed the creation of the world and the first age, because I do have some plans of wanting to make a mini campaign or something that is going to be within the world of the first age with very limited fire use, very think Sumeria kind of architecture. Everything is still small villages and one big city that's even the size of the market district of Zereth, or it would just be what Zereth is now, but just only the capital area is just the one section that is and it's just one large building where the king of Zereth lives and stuff like that.
And what state would magic use be in?
That's what I'm saying. It would be very limited, nothing past a level 3 or 4 spell.
Cool.
But that also means that
research
that means that
and development is happening there.
Yeah, so characters can be oh, I created this spell, because of this event and stuff like that. So it wouldn't just be about I want to write this spell down. It could be about like these people being actively parting of the creation of what would be high-end spell casting, and like the swords and stuff, and the creatures won't be as strong, and there won't be like like the one dude that has adamantine adamantine armor or mithril armor
Mithril, yeah.
is just like the insane dude. Like it's not like you just go to the store. Like finding mithril is like a huge deal.
And
Or
that's
they even discover mithril in the storyline.
actually something that's helped me leverage certain writing, because like specifically because a lot of the like legacy NPCs who've shown up and stuff are mostly player characters, and it's like obviously the characters who've had active playtime in the game you want to have a little bit more reference for than maybe some NPCs, and so it's like especially the first campaign that ever happened in Rukon, the 7 characters that were involved in that who are the founding God Slayers, it's like there's a level of reverence there that it's like they are the most like viewed as the most powerful warriors in the world. And part of me is like, oh, does it make sense to have like 7 of the most powerful warriors of history all exist at the same time? But then the other part of me is like, it's just like anything in life where they are climbing steps that have already been laid by someone before them, so it's easier to take them further. It's easier for them to be greater grandmasters at their arts because someone else figured out what they had to do before they did, and they were able to just learn all of that and then figure out even newer shit. So like it does make sense that some of the most powerful warriors of all of history would exist now.
And mind you, this is the 5th age. That's 25,000 years of history that we like there could have been a grand group of heroes that were just as strong as the God Slayers, whose name had been like lost to the past. Maybe they're
absolutely
not even lost in time. Maybe there was a wizard who like ultimately was able to defeat them, right? Or like some lich or something like that could destroy them and then erase their memory, or like the burning of the Library of Alexandretta,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
just where those stories were hidden,
right, tons
could just be
of history
fucking gone.
And there are events like that in Rukon's history, which is what makes it not so limited. The fact that there is 25,000 years of history, and so much going on right now, it's like you could hit really grand scales with the campaigns and still have so much story left to tell that would still feel like there's high stakes. And that's what I love about how much history there is and how open it all is. Real quick, I just want to answer a couple of the questions that have come up in chat.
Of course.
So what are our views on pandas? Obviously, they're fucking phenomenal.
I don't know.
Majestic.
Pandas,
they're adorable, but they're not very bright. They have to be like encouraged just to
That's okay. I love them
species,
so
right?
much anyway. And red pandas, which are not pandas, but they have panda in the name. Red pandas are among my favorite animals in the world.
Pandas.
And hugging a red panda is absolutely a bucket list item of mine.
Yes.
I think a panda has a really punchable face. So
Now koalas.
That's
on
such
the
a
other
Nikita
hand,
thing to say.
koalas suck. Like
Koalas do.
biologically speaking,
Yeah,
koalas are idiots. Have evolved in the worst way possible.
they're so cute, but I
They're
agree.
adorable, but they all have chlamydia, literally all of them. They only eat food that slowly paralyzes them. Like that's the only food they chose to eat. They literally can't digest it, and they're just the goddamn worst. Like every step of the way, every step of evolution seems stacked against koalas existing.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. The next Galad Hannah. I'm never going to confirm or deny any ships because that, I'd like to leave it open enough for people to have imaginations and make fanfics and headcanons and things like that, just because that's better engagement. It's more fun for you guys. I will say when I first created the interaction, that certainly wasn't what I had in mind because Hannah is 20 years old and Galad is like 240. So I did not.
But
they're in such different.
Stephanie Meyer.
I was going to say they're in such different stages of their lives that I didn't really consider that at all. I'm not removing it from the table if that's something Wes wants to pursue.
Galad.
Well, Wes wants Galad to pursue. then we'll see. I don't know.
In
No,
my
not
headcanon,
confirming or denying.
my personal headcanon, I do not see that relationship as being a love in the sense of partner. I see it as a kind of big brother little sister kind of a situation. I see it more as like a protective, I'm going to take care of you. And in my head canon, you know, I like to think of, like, I made a whole backstory for Hannah in my head because we never really got into one. And for me, you know, she talked about always being poor and wanting to, like, for me, she's always looking for someone to like family. You know, she's poor, she's by herself, that's why she joined the thing. In my head, she lived
Hannah's
in
the
an
Banshee,
orphanage,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Well,
just making
former
sure. I was
former
making sure.
Banshee,
former
she kind
Banshee.
of started a
Yes.
reformation.
Yes. Yes.
She
good.
like grew up in an orphanage. She like had like an older person at the orphanage take care of her and like watch out for her, and then she kind of, this person, that's, you know, that's my head canon for Hannah, by the way. I
Okay,
made that
okay,
all
I
up
like
in
it.
like, you know, the last 5 minutes.
Sounds solid. Lexi
Um,
has made 108 dragon types and can't stop. Lexi, you are just making Pokemon. I hope you know that.
I was gonna say, even in Rukon, I'm using more than just the base 5e dragon types because I think there's like 14 or
Because
so
you love
in
dragons.
5e. But I've only
And dungeons.
legitimately created 2. I think there is, if I'm remembering right, there's 31 or 32 dragon types. But all the ones that are beyond base 5e, past 2 of them are from some kind of expansive edition of D&D or Pathfinder or something. They are all pulled from an official thing somewhere. I may have tweaked things for 1 or 2 of them, but only 2 of them are completely original creations. And 108 is absolutely fucking bonkers, and I would not be able to keep track of that many. I can barely keep track of the 30 something that I have. Let's see, like the Minecraft village, I think that was a question in terms
the
of like
prehistory.
some of the prehistory. The Minecraft village is actually something that exists right now. We added that just, you know, as part of that 500 sub special. We did add that town to the actual world. It's in the Freelands, which is just a place that we haven't physically gone yet in the Echoes of Chaos campaign, but it does exist. I didn't get a chance to actually add it to the map yet, but I absolutely am going to do that. And wouldn't be surprised if we ended up there. I was sad because I know that the original village that was created was, I think, wiped when the server updated or changed, and you guys started a new one. That I haven't gotten to see the new one.
There's a new one?
I
There's a
think
new
they rebuilt or built a new one.
What happened
The
to
one you
Nikita's
filmed,
Mountain?
JD. I think it's the one you filmed.
No, that was the original village.
Yeah, and I think that one's gone. I don't know if the rebuild is like modeled in the same way the old one was, and I really like the model of the old one, but Riley likes the new one, so I trust Riley's judgment because he is way more into Minecraft than me.
It was wiped.
Yeah, which sucks
Rip.
because it really
Rip.
was beautiful, and even if there's a new village, I think I would opt for like some kind of melding of a lot of the ideas and things that were made for the original, like the shrine to Lyra and stuff like that. There was some cool stuff that was in there that I would love to keep. And you know, since we haven't visited yet, it's still pretty open to what the actual like canon architecture of that village is, but it's going to be fun. And yes, so that's a place that exists in the current timeline at the time of Echoes of Chaos.
The current timeline.
But let's see. We have anything else?
Let's talk about Spider-Man.
Let's talk about Spider-Man.
Sure, we can.
What do we got?
We can sidebar.
Oh,
was main
do we have
bar,
any more questions?
thought.
That was the main bar, but you know, we got.
What we just
I guess.
did
I
was
guess.
a
Yeah.
side-
Rukon. I always think because it's a Rukon podcast that the Rukon lore is the main bar, but you're
No.
right. Spider-Man is the main
do
bar.
enough of that.
Rukon lore is a fucking sidebar. We'll get back to it. Spider-Man. Go.
Who wants to start?
I just don't think he's
I
that
wanna
cool.
say-
I don't know. Never had an interest in him.
Shut the fuck up. All right, Dean, you are the Spider-Man aficionado. How about you get us started?
Okay. I thought, first of all, big spoilers for every Spider-Man movie ever, but especially No Way Home.
I still haven't seen the Tobey Maguire ones.
Any of them?
I've never seen it. I don't even know who Tobey Maguire is.
I genuinely can never tell if you're kidding, ever.
JD
You know,
is
Nikita's
the
not too
best at
far-
straight-faced bullshit.
Yeah, Nikita's not too far off from me sometimes.
Okay. So, No Way Home. I'm so distracted by wondering if you've seen the Tobey Maguire movies.
I've absolutely seen the Tobey Maguire. I've
just
seen them in
making
the
sure.
movie
Thank you. I
theaters
needed
when
that
they came
closure.
out in like
Okay.
2000 and something.
Good.
Me too. Okay. So, No Way Home was the movie where Tom Holland's Spider-Man truly became Spider-Man, in my opinion. The first two movies, he was there. He had all the pieces. He got bit by a spider. He had spider powers. He had Aunt May. He didn't have Uncle Ben. That's like the fundamentals there. But he never seemed to understand the responsibility thing, which is, and I'm going back and reading through the Spider-Man comics right now, and boy, is there just a lot of jank in the early comics.
That is every comic
man,
series.
It's a mess. But that's one thing that was really very clear from the beginning. Also, fun fact, Uncle Ben didn't say those words in the comics until, does anybody want to guess the year?
Oh, it's something like 2006.
Yeah, it's in the early 2000s. It was like 02 or 06 or something. That's when
Wait.
Uncle Ben...
Wait. He didn't die until then? Wait,
Oh,
what?
he super died, yeah.
He
No.
died. He just didn't say with
He
great
never
power
said
comes
with
great
power comes
responsibility.
responsibility in the comics on page until like 2002.
Wait,
It
so
was
that's a Sam Raimi
not
creation?
quite. So
Okay.
the timeline goes, I'm doing this from memory, even though the Wikipedia article's like an inch away. In the original comic, and I remember it blowing my freaking mind when I was reading this, Uncle Ben isn't out and about doing anything. It's not like a... it is that Peter lets somebody go because he's squabbling over money with the promoter. Like, that whole thing happens.
Yeah.
But that robber just goes and breaks into Peter's house later and kills Uncle Ben.
Wow, that's dark, dude.
It's dark. And then in one of those little yellow boxes at the end of the page, it just says, and now Peter knows with great power comes great responsibility. I'm just like, that's how it happens.
Oh.
Okay. Then about 10 years later, in, I think, believe it or not, an Archie comic, it's Spider-Man. It's like one of those totally ham-fisted
The number of things that
crossovers.
have actually happened in Archie comics is
Yes.
actually like shocking.
It's ridiculous. There's a Spider-Man crossover, and Spider-Man says, my Uncle Ben always told me with great power comes great responsibility, and that's the first time it's attributed to Uncle Ben. It's
And
then,
that one's
like,
into
what? That's in
So
like
that-
the 70s. That's in like
Okay.
76. Then Spider-Man like mentions it offhand as like something his Uncle Ben always said, but the first time you actually see Uncle Ben say those words is, I think, technically in Spider-Man 1. Or maybe in the animated cartoon of the 90s. I'm not sure. But on comics, on page, it's in like 06, which is crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, this is the movie where, between him seeing the effects of, you know, the fame and the notoriety and J. Jonah Jameson's craziness, how it affects everybody in his immediate close friendship and family, how it affects MJ and Ned, them getting rejected from college because of it, all these far-reaching negative effects, and then losing Aunt May, like that all super nails down how carefully he has to deal with being Spider-Man. And he didn't know that until now. Like, they try to do it in the first movie with Tony yelling at him and stuff, but it just doesn't, like, you got a lecture from Tony Stark, who really isn't in a position to lecture anybody.
Yeah.
And at no point is that really hammering home to the audience or to Peter how much responsibility is actually there. And this just really handled it. I went into this movie expecting a big dumb CGI fest fan service movie, and I got that, and I also got a really good Spider-Man movie, which I did not expect.
So JD and I had very similar opinions on the movie, which is that the good parts of the movie are absolutely phenomenal, and the bad parts of the movie are it's so disappointing how lazy the writing got at some points, and how rushed they just tried to it's like they knew exactly what they wanted for acts 2 and 3 and just ham-fisted their way into it by writing Doctor Strange extremely out of character.
Okay, yes, that I hugely agree on. Doctor Strange was completely bizarre.
Then they also didn't know necessarily how to solve it at the end, so they rushed the whole big solution at the end as well, which has so many implications that the movie just completely ignores. So like, why was Doctor Strange moving at 100 miles a fucking hour? Like,
when? What do you mean?
Like
at the beginning, when
maybe we have this spell we could do. Let's just do it. Let's just run in and do it.
Let's erase the memory of everyone on Earth.
Yeah, it's like, take time to explain to Peter, like, listen, I can do this for you, but like, I assume you like know people.
Yes.
So like, maybe do you want to like, what's the implications here? Are you actually cool with this happening?
And also the fact that Wong comes by and is just like, hey, don't do that, and just says it fucking casually, and then just leaves. And he's just like, well, I expect you to do the right thing.
Fight Club. I'll be back later.
Yeah. Okay, so here's part 2. The whole reason the spell goes awry is because Peter starts making changes. He's like, well, these people should remember. Why are they acting like memory restoration spells don't exist? That's for sure do. So Strange could have just been like, oh shit, we're into this. I don't want to change this. Shut up. Their memories will be erased. And then we'll real quick just go grab the 3 people you want to know and do 3 quick memory restoration spells. That's a way easier solution that Strange would know, because Strange is one of the smartest people in the MCU.
Right. Absolutely.
He's moving at 100 miles an hour. He somehow has lost all comprehensive thinking ability, and then he fucks up the spell. Part 2 of stupid lazy writing, they imply that everyone pulled over is a villain who was about to die fighting Spider-Man and knew he was Peter. And only half of the people there actually die fighting Peter. Sandman, Lizard, and who's in there was a third.
I know Lizard doesn't die.
Lizard doesn't die. Sandman doesn't die. Fuck, who else was there?
Bobby dies. Octopus dies.
Electro dies.
Bobby died in Harry Potter. That was so sad.
I'm
just picturing Willem Dafoe going like, Master gave Gobby a sock.
Regardless, and then like Sandman didn't know Spidey was Peter, I don't think. Did he?
And Electro sure didn't.
And Electro definitely didn't. So like the premise for who was brought over.
Maybe I want to say that the only reasonable way that you could think about it is that he knew that Spider-Man, and that's what combines the Peter Parkers and Spider-Mans. And then if we were gonna be pulling in other Spider-Mans, why didn't we get a fucking Mary Poppins ass animated Spider-Man from the multiverse of whatever running around too? I want to see that Mary Poppins situation going on.
But ultimately, it was like they also couldn't decide how to describe who comes over, so they tried this description that was really inconsistent and didn't work. And then at the end, why doesn't he just do the same spell? Like, all right, shit's gone bad. There's people from the multiverse coming in. It's everyone who knows Peter's Spider-Man, or Spider-Man's Peter.
Doctor Strange, MJ, Ned. Like that.
But again, even because at that point he was like, all right, fuck it. They'll forget who I am anyway. I'm ready to accept that sacrifice. Like, I fucked this up enough. I'll let that happen. Just do everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man again. Not everyone forgets who Peter Parker is, which is the spell that he casts in the end.
Because either way, he casts
and that's on a multiversal level.
So now
everyone in the multiverse has now forgotten who Peter Parker is. Does Toby now go back and MJ doesn't know who he is?
Andrew goes back and he's fucked.
And now for this to be effective,
Peter Parker, that's an important question.
For sure. And so then to add to that, the implications that erasing Peter Parker's from everyone's memory in the multiverse will solve this problem means that he has to get removed from media so that all the past videos of, Mysterio's are gone, which means that any of evidence of his existence is gone. He no longer has a social security number. How did he get an apartment? How is he going to get a job to fund that apartment, even if it's freelance?
So
how does he have a bank? Like, there's so many implications that they just fucking lazy glossed over, which is such a shame because the rest of the writing is so good.
I know. The headcanon I'm going with on the media, and slightly less so on like the how does he get a bank loan or anything at this point. What I'm going with is it works like a I'm trying to think of a good example in another fiction, but like a thing where it tricks the brain into like I don't need to worry about that. Like if there was this mug on my desk and there was a charm on it that made me not able to see it, I would look at it and like not even notice a mug, You
mean having ADHD?
Yes. Precisely.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Okay.
But that thing where it just kind of like warps the brain around.
I have a way to fix this, right? Next Spider-Man. All right, get ready for this. Time heist.
We just time heisted again.
We time heist again, and we go back and we get the Infinity Stones, and then we.
Endgame 2. It's Spider-Man this time.
We get Tony again, so he can just.
Yeah.
Die all over again.
I'm really glad. Know what? One thing that I'm going to mention really quickly is that I'm glad that that they didn't. So you mentioned Tony Stark trying to do the great powers, great responsibility situation, and he like kind of sets it up to put it into his mind, and I like that he doesn't get it well until being Spider-Man, so he understands his power and what he can do for a long time.
That
right?
does make sense.
And then after like fucking it all up, then he can like learn it. And get like the clean slate of becoming like the classic Spider-Man that we all know, and so he has all this background of knowing he has a greater understanding of his power, and he understands what happens because of which will make him even more protective, and being that ultra it gives before, like, he gets it when he first becomes Spider-Man and his uncle dies and we don't get to see all that, which I'm really glad that they do. But I think it really puts the burden of it off the shoulders, and also with what's his name, with Tony Stark being the one who kind of first guides him, and him not being the one that says that to him right before he dies is also really great that they didn't like blow that situation there, like that Aunt May got to do it. I am sad that Aunt May has died because that was probably my favorite scenes when she was on the screen.
Yes, she's wonderful.
Quick sidebar: Norberto saying "Call Hackerman."
Yes.
Excellent Kung Fury reference.
Yes, is wonderful.
The Shield let's just lose all of Spider-Man's files because they are tied to Peter. The Shield doesn't even exist anymore in the MCU.
Good point. It's Sword at this point.
It's Sword, yeah. Sword is going to be fucking. It's been cool. Fucking sketchy.
Quick sidebar. When do you think Nick Fury and the Skrull changed places?
When? In 1996.
I was gonna say, do you think we've ever actually seen Nick Fury on screen until that scene in Space with Sword? Do you think it's been, what's his name? Jesus Christ, what's his name?
What, Talon?
Yeah. No.
No.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
The actor Talos. Is like Talos. Thank you.
I was close.
I'm pretty sure they switched to 1996.
Ben Mendelsohn. I think so too. I think that's going to be a big reveal in Secret Invasion, which is a TV show that's coming up. I think it's going to be a reveal that
the reason that I want to say that is that because Captain Marvel has been in space this whole time, and there's no way that she's out there by herself just doing all this stuff. I think that he understands the situation of the Skrull and the bigger stuff going on, and I think that he left him in charge. I don't think that we've ever technically seen
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury.
Also, Def Drap, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is technically not canon. So
Yeah,
you,
it's a
you
super
don't
bummer.
need to catch up with it to know what's going on there.
But you should watch it because it's freaking fantastic.
Mostly, it's inconsistent. I loved a lot of it, but
It's
some of it
inconsistent,
was
and
bad.
I'm okay with that, and I enjoyed
You
it
know
till
what?
the
It's
end.
kind of
It was
kind of
fun
like
at the end. Like
it's kind of like a wait, is it done now? Is it over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
last 2 years ago, I think.
yeah,
I think I missed like the last 2 seasons.
I'm trying to remember what the last. Okay, so season 1 is the Hydra twist, which is masterful. Played out even better on Shield somehow than in Winter Soldier, in my opinion.
it was like most of season 1 felt campy and like and then the Hydra twist happened and it got like really high tier television
Yes.
for like a season and a half.
Okay.
And then it got like okay with the Inhumans, and then like after that it just kept getting like really bad and then really good and then really bad, and then it
Also, season
ended
4.
on just like the last season was just like fuck it, we're just gonna have fun. Like
Yes, absolutely.
and I appreciated that at least.
Every season of Shield that doesn't begin with like the ending of the other season where it's kind of like starting fresh is exactly the same. It's super slow, it's very boring and painful to get through, and then that like and it starts to develop the storyline, but it's very slow, it's very difficult to get through. Once you're like 5 or 6 episodes in and everything is starting to roll, then it's like boom, then it hits and you just can't stop watching it. But it takes a while to get there.
Season 4 killed our first Shield watch. We first watched Shield, I think, live.
Season 4
honestly.
was easily the weakest one.
Well, no.
Until the framework.
Yes. Until LMDs, in my opinion. Like, once you got through the first, like, honestly, the first, like, 2 episodes of Ghost Rider, and he was really, like, in it, and he was, like Ghost Rider was great once he was in it.
Season 4 was Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So
That
the
was
first
so
5
cool.
episodes of season 4 were Ghost Rider. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then we were straight into LMDs, and then we were into the framework, and that whole season is my favorite season of Shield, I think.
You know which is the season where what's his name comes back, but he's like an alien or whatever, and they're like
3?
Season 3.
no. The one after that, where they're like robbing banks and stuff.
That's season 2.
No, that's not. It's like season 7
We're talking
or
about
season
Grant
8.
Ward, right?
No, not Grant Ward.
Oh.
The main guy.
Oh, Evil Coulson.
That's season
Evil
6.
Coulson.
That
Yeah,
was
that's
such a
the season
disappointing season to me.
that was the season that I stopped watching. How many seasons are there?
7. There's one
7.
more after that,
Yeah, I couldn't get through
6 was
dude.
rough.
and it's
I couldn't get through 6.
kind of just Doctor Who the season.
Oh,
It's
that's annoying.
7 is Doctor Who the season, right?
yeah.
Yeah. And it's so
Season
much more
6
fun.
Is like I'm trying to even.
5 is the one in
yeah.
space, right?
5
Yeah,
is the
which-
future space one.
The
That's
first
the-
half
that's
of
my
5 was
favorite
the first
I
half of
liked
5 I thought was really good, and then the second half when they come back to
Yeah.
present time
that
got
drag.
really bad again.
The
Yeah.
future stuff was great though. Like
Yeah, it was
Deke was a
very
fun
good.
new character. The whole ship dynamic of the Kree and that was super cool. It felt like a
Cassilius,
whole
despite
different
looking
show.
silly, was like genuinely intimidating.
Cassilius is the Doctor Strange villain.
No, Cassilius was the Kree.
No, Cassilius is the name of a Doctor Strange villain.
There's a Doctor Strange villain?
The bad guy in the first.
Yeah,
Doctor
Mads
Strange movie is named
Mikkelsen.
Cassilius.
Wait, did they use the
Massive
name
waste
twice?
Of Mads Mikkelsen. No, that villain is named
Cassius. It's
Cassius.
close.
Thank you.
Take out the ill.
Yep.
Let's see. Favorite Avenger.
Did you finish What If? Did you finish What If?
No, I just watched the
Ah,
Doctor
damn it,
Strange
dude.
episode.
I only watched
know.
episode 1. I need to catch up on it. Favorite
Dude, you
Avenger.
guys are-
Here's my headcanon for why Doctor Strange was so weird and stupid in Spider-Man No Way Home. It's because he's the Doctor Strange from that episode of What If, because that guy was also an idiot.
Let's see. My favorite Avenger is probably Winter Soldier.
Yeah, hands down.
Unless you
character?
count
Bucky?
like comic, yeah. Unless you count like comic Avengers, in which case probably
Lexi.
Quicksilver. But my other favorite Marvel characters are Daredevil and Punisher.
Mm-hmm. Favorite Avenger.
I like Ghost Rider a lot too.
I got to really think through them all.
And while you're thinking, musique, is there a Godslayer's insignia? There is, that has changed a bit throughout the years, and I am trying to figure out what the true canon version will be. Rukon's existed for 17 years. The Godslayers have gone through a few iterations and weren't always called that, because we were a bunch of fucking idiot kids when we first came up with it, and the names have been cheesy a couple times, and Godslayers is just kind of where it ended up because it made sense and sounded the coolest.
What other
And
names
the
does it have?
insignia has also, what did you say?
What other names did it have?
For a good chunk of time, it was the Shadow Slayers, which we did because it was alliterative, and in hindsight, sounds silly.
Yeah, that's not the best name, especially
No.
with those insignia. Yeah, let's move on.
But so yeah, I hope to have an official Godslayer's insignia done like within the next few months, maybe. We're slowly trying to get some like artwork made and things like that as we can, but art costs money and it's hard.
Okay, I
Yes,
have
it
my
does.
answers, I think.
Okay, go.
For what?
And I say answers because I literally can't decide on one. Favorite as a character, in terms of like how much I enjoy watching them on screen and everything, it's got to be Tony Stark. Like he's just like the way Robert Downey Jr. portrayed that character is such a
Unky
joy
Stork?
to watch. Yes.
Okay.
He I mean, he started the whole MCU. He like defined what
I'm
an
sorry.
MCU movie
Who started
looks
the
like.
MCU?
I mean,
Tobey
Jon
Maguire
Favreau.
now.
That's
I'm
a good
sorry.
point.
It was the Hulk that started it. Thank you very much.
No, Iron Man came out first.
Nope.
No, I think the Hulk came out first.
I'm pretty sure Ed Norton Hulk was first,
Pretty
actually.
sure Edward
no,
Norton
no, no,
Hulk
no,
was
no,
the
no, no.
first
I'm
one.
gonna big old disagree with this. Hang on.
Incredible Hulk, June 13th, 2008.
Iron Man, May 2nd, 2008.
Ah, shit. I thought it
Oh,
was
they're 2
later in
months
the year
apart.
than that.
I thought it was the following year.
No, I
Nope.
knew they were the same
It's the
year.
close one.
I switched it in my head.
So I'm gonna say Tony, just because he feels like the character who got the most depth, and I mean he got the most exposure in the MCU. He's got to be on screen more than anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Between all his movies, so
I think so.
think it's him,
Tonky Stork.
Donkey Stork. Beyond that, I like a lot of them. I've always loved Vision as a character. He's super cool.
And Paul Bettany is just a pleasure to watch.
Paul Bettany, he's great. Can't say his name, but he's great.
um,
I want to see. I wish, and then for characters, I wish we got to know better and see more of. It's Hulk, specifically the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, and
which I'm hyped for She-Hulk about.
yes, and Rocket. I feel like
Rocket
has
is
such a good
100%
story to
always
tell.
has been my favorite Guardian of the Galaxy, and I agree. We need more Rocket. I liked Hawkeye.
I loved the Hawkeye
I thought it was a
series.
lot
No
of
one
fun.
let me answer.
Sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah,
just,
What was the question again?
What's your favorite Avenger?
My favorite Avenger?
Yes.
It's really complicated because I don't like any of them from beginning to end.
I agree.
I
with
like
you.
them in certain periods. So it would be like early Tony and early Captain America and actually all of them. They're really fucking annoying in the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
Except for Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo is the only one that isn't annoying in the first Avenger because it's still like Tony just like, I'm Tony Stark, and then like Captain America's like, I'm Captain America, you know, and then
Thor
Black
is a
Widow is,
Shakespeare actor.
oh, he's the fucking worst. And then
Dyed eyebrows.
and Black Widow is just like, hello, I'm the sexual appeal of this film, and then they won't let me be anything else because America. And then what's his name is just there. Hawkeye is just there. He's
Yes.
just like, I'm a
He
person.
Really is. He
I'm so
really
happy
is.
the series
who's my
like
favorite
played on
Avenger is?
that.
In the very first Avenger, Coulson.
Yes. Okay.
Coulson
Yeah.
Sorry, I
is
take
the
it all
best
back.
Avenger
Coulson
in
is
the
my favorite
first-
Avenger by far.
Yes.
By far.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And
You're
then,
absolutely right.
And then second phase 2, Captain America in phase 2
Mhm.
is my favorite. He
Mhm.
is my favorite Winter Soldier, he crushes it. Civil War, he's on the right side
Yeah,
of this.
he is
You
the
know,
only
he
person on
is
the right side in both of those movies.
yeah.
And you
And
know how I can even agree with that further is that my answer to the question was kind of MCU comics combined, just who's always been my overall favorite Avengers. My favorite performance in the MCU out of an Avenger has been Captain America.
so Musique has made a very interesting comment saying you can skip her movie, and that is very sad to hear.
I know.
I hate that. I
Me
hate
too.
that
Do you
her
agree?
movie is. I want to say yes and no, right? I want to say yes because information wise, it doesn't give much and it doesn't really grow her character, right? But part two of that is like you get to meet her sister, who's obviously going to be the new
Yeah,
Black
and
Widow kind
Yelena's
of
a
replacement,
wonderful
and
character.
Yelena's performance and kind of like setting her up for the next thing. And I do like what's his name's performance.
Oh yeah,
as,
David Harbour.
Oh
yeah,
as
David
Red Guardian
Harbour's
was great.
He's great. They wrote what's her name's character so poorly.
Natasha?
No, not Natasha. Well, Natasha's
Taskmaster.
story,
Oh,
not
Taskmaster.
Taskmaster. No, Taskmaster is not is
Not
a
even in the
walking.
movie.
I was gonna say that's not even Taskmaster.
Yeah.
Um,
That's to Taskmaster what Deadpool was in Wolverine Origins.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. No, the see, we can't even remember her name. The mom.
God. Oh,
oh,
yeah.
Melina.
Yeah, she did. It
don't
was
know
a
how you
horrible.
remember
She's a
that.
great
God.
actress.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's a great actress, and they gave her, and she had like a shitty Russian accent, right? She could have just had an American accent the whole time, and it would have been like, I just got used to it, from the time that I spent undercover,
Yes.
right? And it was just really disappointing that they didn't put the same love and effort into Black Widow's story, who has been such an important, like, she literally gave her life in Endgame, in Endgame,
In Endgame.
and she sacrificed she has never had anything, and she sacrificed everything she had for everyone, and for them to like not put in the effort into that
it was the
story,
weakest
into that
send-off.
movie, so weak. And I just think that they did her so dirty, and it's really disappointing that pheromone as a plot device, exactly.
my
it's
God.
Oh, that was
lame.
so bad.
Honestly expected more from me too, and it's really fucked up that it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah,
Dean
absolutely.
and I had this conversation right after the movie came out that the best parts of the movie all happened off screen.
Mm-hmm.
The most
Yes.
interesting things story-wise were all just alluded to. And
I would have loved to see a movie about what happened in Budapest,
Yeah,
And
that would have been an
not
awesome
a
movie.
cutscene with voiceover talking about it.
And even outside of that, I want to see more of what Nat actually went through in the training of the Red Room. The whole thing about it is the psychological conditioning and what it turns them into as people, and how hard she had to work to break that and become a better person.
That would have been an awesome movie, showing Budapest and how she became Black Widow and turned over. Would have been
But even
awesome
if
movie.
they wanted to do the current storyline, show flashbacks, because we see none of what she actually went through. And then they had to lean on the whole pheromones thing. I was really hoping that it would just go back to she can't hit him, not because of any like bullshit science thing, but because she can't bring herself to, because of what she was conditioned to do. I would have loved for it to literally just be like a Stockholm syndrome type situation, and we get to explore psyche more.
Yeah.
That would have been a so much more interesting story to tell. And then like her overcoming that would seem so much more like a character growth than just her smashing her head against the table. Like,
yeah,
And then
breaking her
bringing
nose.
magic red gas to everybody else to fix them.
exactly. It was too much of a cop out. And then because there was no flashbacks and no details of anything, the Red Room's just left as another classic organization of
Another one of the like 100 secret organizations secretly running Earth in the MCU.
Yeah.
talked
I
about that.
that 3 movies in a row they introduced these things.
Yes.
There's
It-
got to be a secret society convention where they talk
Yeah.
about their,
You guys doing black
how do you
suits
get
this year? We're
henchmen?
thinking black suits.
We're actually going to go with
I'm-
red suits this
Ooh,
year.
ooh, it's
Like, I
Red
love
Room,
the
Red
MCU, but I
Sunrise.
swear if they bring in one more thing on screen and say that they have toppled governments and don't
Yes.
name the government that was toppled,
Like
I'll
which
be pissed.
governments were toppled?
Right.
Like like how many like how many like can you
At
say
the
like
very least,
when literally at
Eternals
the-
gave us specific historical events.
Yes.
I have still yet to watch Eternals. Is it on Disney Plus yet?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, I gotta watch it. I'm gonna go watch it.
I'm so sorry.
Why?
No, it's okay. It's not bad.
I know
want
it's
to talk
dense
about
and
it after you
convoluted.
watch it.
I know it's dense and convoluted, but
It really, I just wish, I think they could have told the same story so much better with like 6 heroes instead of literally 10.
I don't even care about that. They should have, like, they're making all these Disney Plus series. They should have just made it a Disney Plus series and given it 6 episodes.
Absolutely.
That's it. It just needed 3 more hours and it would have been great. And, if you break that 3 hours up into the 1 hour segments and it doesn't feel like you're just watching a 6-hour movie, that's great. Like, it would have been awesome as a series because it was a cool story. It was a great concept, and a lot of the actors did great jobs.
And visually, it was gorgeous.
Oh,
The
yeah,
weapons,
visually stunning.
Especially Angelina Jolie's characters, the way she summoned weapons, and they were just like
okay.
Stop. Okay, sorry.
Well, that's in the trailer. That's not a spoiler.
It looks cool.
But really quickly, I want to say I think that them moving forward and doing more miniseries over films is definitely the move to. I think that the films are awesome, right? But I would love to have seen the Avengers between Age of Ultron and the first one. I would love to have seen that dynamic of them defeating like 2 or 3 smaller villains over a couple of, just like them working together and getting that dynamic and more, because that's really the best parts of the movie are that those ensemble scenes where they're all riffing off each other.
Right, the
and
banter,
talking,
the party scene in Age of Ultron is brilliant. That's the best part of the movie.
They are getting to a point where the scale of the stories they're telling are really difficult to contain to a movie's
scope
timeline.
Creep is a huge problem in any like power levels. Think about Dragon Ball Z. Think about anything. Everything has to be a level of world-endingly bad higher than the last one. And it gets hard to top when the fate of the entire universe was at hand in Endgame. Next, they're gonna have to do the fate of the entire multiverse. Where the hell do you go from there?
But what I like is that as long as the writing is good and you keep the scope focused on what the specific story is, you can make there seem stakes in smaller things. Hawkeye was such a human show, and I genuinely felt like there were stakes in it especially towards the end of the season. And none of that was on this, was even a world scale, let alone a multiverse scale.
Right, it wasn't even on a city scale.
Yeah, but it still
like
felt it still felt very like this is a conflict that is a genuine thing that they have to deal with right now, and I can see the trouble in dealing with that and the danger in approaching this because of the specific situation they're in. And the writing just made it work that way. Like, sometimes you are like, okay, where the fuck were all these other heroes when this thing was going down? And I never really felt that during Hawkeye. I think it was just written well enough to feel self-contained and still feel intense and like there were stakes.
And that was in Loki. She was Miss Minutes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I think did I know that? I don't remember. I clearly didn't know it well enough to remember it. But
Loki
that's honestly for my own writing something that brings me a little bit of comfort, kind of, because it's weird that the first live streamed brought to public campaign in Rukon is like the 5th or 6th campaign, like big campaign that's ever taken place in the world. And the Godslayers are called that because they killed a god in the first campaign. And multiple gods have fallen since. And it's never been us nerfing gods to make that happen. Every single time it's happened has been a really serious event. And so while this group, it's only our 2nd campaign together, there's so much more history that it's we've built to some crazy levels in past campaigns. And in my own head, I kind of have to top it. But then I also know we don't, because then we did the Business of Banshees. And that was just Wes turning on us seemed like a huge thing there. Like
Yes.
suddenly we have to fight a Goliath, and that's a big deal there. Like that's nowhere near God tier. He was like level 8 or 9, but like for the setting there, that was a big deal.
That was
Or
intense.
like,
yeah.
or the Time Hydra, or Nemertev in the one shot. That was like. I love that your Tony Stark impression was literally Nemertev. You did the same like like voice.
Yeah. Exactly.
I appreciate that a lot.
It's very good.
Let's see. We got any more? I see a completely unrelated question that I feel I have to answer, which is, does Goku's
answer is
ball hair
yes.
change color when he goes Super Saiyan?
Absolutely.
I mean, his eyebrows change color, so I assume it all does.
Yeah,
Which
that's
which
Okay,
will
you're
bring me
making-
back
okay,
to the thing
wait,
I've
wait,
been
wait,
saying
wait,
for
wait, wait,
15
what-
years.
Wait, before you answer this question, why are you assuming that Goku has ball hair?
Why are we assuming that Goku has balls?
He has kids.
We don't know how Saiyan biology works.
Yep, we don't know. We don't know.
That's fair, but
Actually, I think they've shown them in the yeah.
They
Actually,
did.
sorry,
They did.
They definitely
when
showed
he's
them
in Dragon Ball.
in Dragon Ball.
they-
Yeah,
in
I remember
Dragon Ball.
watching Dragon Ball last year. I was like, oh, this is graphic. Japan has different standards about things.
Yes.
But okay, so the thing
Never
I've been
mind.
saying for
So
15
yes.
years, what if Nappa achieved Super Saiyan? What would happen?
We've actually.
Would he
I
become
wanna say I've
Gandalf?
seen concept art actually.
Would he become blonde Gandalf?
Yes. Yeah.
But
it
bald
comes out
blonde
this way, yeah.
Gandalf, and that's
Yes.
it.
Yes.
What if just like his hair just came out through the sides and he just had like the
Dr. Wily.
yeah.
He's not actually fully bald. He just
Yeah.
shaves the rest of it. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
I'm dragging these balls in your face.
There you go.
Hey. So yeah, I don't know.
That was a
I
good
don't know how to-
MCU rant. That was good.
Yeah.
We went off for a minute.
Yeah.
All right, so chat. Is there anything non-MCU related
Oh.
now?
Real quick, one more thing because I don't think
Okay.
we've discussed this. Killjoy asked, "What do we think of the Loki show in general?"
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, it was
Me too.
great.
I think I hoped for a little bit more out of the finale with everything that kind of led up to it. I guess I was hoping for it to feel more like a self-contained show than just a setup to the next phase of the MCU. But I don't dislike anything that happened. I thought it was a really well done show.
I wish there was a little more. I wish they'd done a couple more episodes so they could do a little more, like week to week. Where and when is Loki ending up this week? You know, a little more time travel place of the week. Kind of
Then
Doctor
it
Who.
would have gone too long. I think they had to go jump right into it.
Yes.
But it definitely was.
It felt like
was-
it just kind of
I
didn't
think-
use the central conceit of the show well enough.
Yeah, but that it wasn't.
That's
It
fair.
wasn't,
But
though.
I
I
guess if they did that, it would have made it feel too like fun episode of the week rather than consistent, really high tier storytelling from episode 1 to 6.
And I guess so. This kind of brings back to a general thing I feel about miniseries in general, is that I kind of wish. So most of these have been 6 episodes, right? With the exception of WandaVision, which was 9,
Yes,
I think.
Mhm.
I kind of think
WandaVision didn't have to be 9 episodes. That could've
WandaVision
been
did not have to be 9 episodes. WandaVision could have been 6 episodes.
I
But-
loved WandaVision, but it was so
But see, look,
anticlimactic.
This is exactly the situation. WandaVision had the week to week. What year are we in? And playing along with the TV thing, and then it was kind of like it went for too long, and then it was kind of like, and now we're saying, that could have been
That's
6
a good point.
episodes.
Maybe I did.
And then
maybe,
you
yeah.
go and you watch the where in the time are we now? You know, with what's his name for 9 episodes, and then you say they could have maybe made it 6.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You
Could have
know?
been tight. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So
That's
this
fair.
is
That's
just
fair.
to swing back to Shield. The first half of the first season of Shield, it's literally just X-Files. The first
I
half
love
of the
that
season.
though.
See,
was
no,
great.
I
But see, that was
it
but the
felt too
concept behind-
goofy to me.
It was goofy. It was
I
goofy.
love Goofy.
And it was like X-Files. Every episode was a contained. It was fucking CSI MCU. That's what it was. And CSI
I was okay with
X-Files
that.
MCU.
I was perfect.
And it
I
was
would
fun.
watch just a
But it
whole
only
show of
becomes
that.
memorable. It only becomes memorable when it becomes the whole storyline.
Yes.
right?
I agree. It was, yeah, and I think it's a really tricky balance to find. Oh, but I was gonna say I thought the finale of that show was perfect, absolutely perfect.
Which one?
Like of Loki.
Oh yeah,
Just having
literally probably some of the best writing in the
Yeah.
MCU.
just having He Who
I kinda
Remains
wanna go
just
back and just
monologue
watch-
for 15 minutes and drop.
And he has the gravitas of an
Yes.
actor to do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he could pull off 15 minutes of exposition. That's
You
insane.
know what's my
and it was
favorite
amazing.
part? Is that whole time that he's doing that, he's essentially just playing with his food.
Yes. Yes.
He's playing with his food, and he's being so playful when he has so much power, and he lets everything just happen.
Yep.
You know,
And
it's great.
seeing the first moment where he doesn't know what's gonna happen is so much fun. That's my favorite moment in that whole season.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: if you start that episode of Loki, if you start the finale of Loki and the finale of WandaVision at the same time, the moment when Wanda reaches like full power and goes full Scarlet Witch is the moment where He Who Remains clicks over to the first second where he doesn't know what's going to happen and the multiverse opens.
That's cool.
It's very cool.
Oh, like in terms of like time in the episode?
Yeah, like literally you start them, those things
Cool.
happen at the same time.
I was gonna say chronologically, I don't think that makes sense because
No, definitely not.
it's 2023 versus the year like 20,000 or whenever
Yeah, no. But
the end
in
of time is.
episode-
But that's cool. Yeah, what's his name? That actor.
Jonathan Masters?
Jonathan Majors.
Majors.
Yeah. I mean, I first saw him in Lovecraft Country, and I was so excited he was coming to the MCU. He's phenomenal.
Yes, he's great.
Of the MCU shows that have come out, I want to say that Loki, number 1. Number 2, What If? And then everything else.
I think number 3, Hawkeye. Number 4, kind of a tie between WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. WandaVision hasn't had a much stronger.
I didn't like
Falcon.
I didn't like Falcon. It was so fucking liberal, dude. Like it was just like the cops are good people, and we just have to bring together. There's no oppression of black
That scene
people.
was
Like
really,
it was
really
that was
ham-fisted.
that was so bad.
The only thing
To me, it's like
did
Winter
actually
Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier had high points, and I love their dynamic as characters together in the books. So I was really excited for the show, and I was a little let down by it. I still think some of the high points of the season were done really well, but I agree it kind of dragged.
The villain
pacing
wasn't
was
even
weird.
wrong. The villain of
Yeah,
fucking
I agree.
She was not even wrong,
Yeah,
dude.
I agree.
That's what. It was just kind of like anybody that's reactionary and left is a villain, and I fucking hated that, dude, because she was completely right.
Yeah.
She just wanted people to have fucking food again, and
There
these
was
refugees
a
were
lot-
suffering.
There was a lot more characterization for her that I think would have painted her in a much more sympathetic light.
Yeah.
That got cut because in general because of COVID, whether that's because of like shooting restrictions and inability to do production, but also I think a lot of it relied on like an outbreak of tuberculosis in one of the camps or something, and they didn't want to do a people getting sick storyline during COVID, which I get, but it's frustrating that resulted in cutting a significant portion of the storyline.
Because she was in my mind, from the beginning, when they first described what they were doing, it was a workers-led revolution trying to create a stability of the working class, and that was viewed as being the bad person.
Right.
Was just like, of course, like union busting Disney is gonna see anything of workers uniting as being the bad people, right? And Middle America is just gonna eat that shit up. Look, you see what happens when when anyone tries to change anything, it's just like, God, fuck you, Disney,
I did think Jonathan Walker was really, really well done, though.
I was gonna say, like I agree with all of JD's points, which is why I was disappointed in the show a lot. But there were really high points, like Jonathan Walker. A lot of the action sequences were cool. I think a lot of the stuff in Madripoor was really cool.
Madripoor was very good.
So like there are points of the show that made me really like it and others that made me not so much. And it's like WandaVision, if you based it just on the first like 5 or 6 episodes, I think was way stronger. Like it was such a compelling storytelling and narrative. And then it just kind of got anticlimactic and weird in the last couple episodes. And so that's what brings it down to where Falcon and Winter Soldier ended up for me.
For me, WandaVision's like biggest and really only real sin, other than probably going 1 or 2 episodes too long, was doing the Quicksilver thing and then doing nothing with that.
Yeah, that was so dumb. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah. I'll actually be right back.
What happened?
Oh. Yeah.
While they're gone, let's see. I'll answer a couple of the questions, and because I think we just finished ranking our MCU shows, so we're probably more or less done with Marvel. For the second time in the same podcast. So, which was your biggest gaming disappointment ever? I'm not really sure. Probably discovering that I got bad at Halo, because as a teenager, I played it fucking religiously and was like no life virginly good at it. And I was very proud of that. And then adult life happened when I was like 17, 18. I played very periodically. And then I went back in when the Master Chief Collection dropped and like played Halo 3 again and got my ass fucking handed to me. And I was like, oh no, I'm not good at Halo anymore, and that's probably my biggest gaming disappointment ever. I am a mid-tier Halo player now and have remained as such because I haven't been able to dedicate no lifetime back into it. Dean, what's your biggest gaming disappointment ever?
I'm thinking.
What happened? What did I miss? Sorry.
We're answering questions. What's the biggest gaming disappointment ever?
Like video games or like in the game?
Video games, I think.
Fallout 76. Hands down.
I never played it, but I bet
I was so disappointed, dude. It sucks. And it's much better now, I've heard, but I just like it was such a bad early that I never really it's a game you need to have friends to play with, and I don't know anyone that plays Fallout 76, and I'm too invested in Escape from Tarkov to now like switch and spend all my time playing Fallout 76.
I'm gonna say, and this is a bold statement, Fallout 4 or Halo 4. Both were
Why was Fallout 4 a disappointment to you? The game is fantastic.
To me, it took away so much of the role playing and depth to the story that New Vegas had. Because New Vegas was my first Fallout game.
You can't compare you can't. That's, you know what that is like? That's like comparing, like a New York slice pizza to literally any pizza for anywhere else. Like it's only good. Like New Vegas.
Now imagine that being your first slice of pizza. Now imagine that being your first slice of pizza ever. You think this is what pizza tastes like.
Hi.
and then you go to our small ass little town and you try a slice of pizza and it's not as good.
Know what's funny though?
And you can only eat from Cocapelli's. Shout out to Cocapelli's, the only genuinely good pizzeria in Poughkeepsie.
And they also make pretty solid, like, friggin', what's the thing I get from there? Crunchy rolled up burrito. Jesus Christ.
Fallout 4 is a huge disappointment compared to Fallout New Vegas. But I think that it's gameplay, shooting wise, world wise, it's really beautiful.
It's a great FPS, and Fallout shouldn't be an FPS.
But Tercero did specify he meant like which game made me the most disappointed. So I thought you meant like gaming experience. Which game made me the most disappointed? Probably.
While you're thinking, I'm also going to say Halo 4. Halo 1 through 3 was a perfect trilogy. As someone who grew up with the Marathon series of games, which Halo is kind of a spiritual successor to, I loved the storyline in the Halo games. I loved the conclusion at the end of Halo 3, where Guilty Spark is like, you are the Forerunner. This is all yours. This all makes sense. That's why Master Chief can drive Forerunner vehicles and stuff. And operate Forerunner, control panels and stuff, because humanity literally were forerunners. And then Halo 4 comes around. They expect you to have read like 30 books and crap in between those. And they're like, oh no, the forerunners are actually these space fish dudes, and they're real and everything. You were only the forerunners metaphorically, I guess, or something. I don't know. Anyway, this guy's back. You should know who he is. He's the Didact, and he's an evil forerunner from 4,000 years ago who froze himself in a library and took the souls of all the forerunners and put them into machines. We're not going to explain any of that except in this book over here. And that's Halo 4, and it's a bummer.
See, I remember playing Halo 4 and just really liking the gameplay, and thinking the Prometheans were probably the coolest actual challenge of a new enemy to introduce after 3 games of the Covenant. I was more disappointed in Halo 5 just because of, like, I didn't want to see Cortana be a villain. That was hard for a whole game. And to play more than half the game as Locke, who I liked. I liked Locke's character a lot. And I fucking love, I'm blanking on this actor's name as well, even though he's Luke Cage, and I know that. Google, yay, Mike Coulter. I love Mike Coulter, and I thought he did a great job as Locke. And I loved the 4 Spartan dynamic of the Spartan 4s, and, you know, everyone he was with. I just wanted to play more of the game as Chief than him, and I was disappointed that you finished the game as him. I wanted to finish the game as Chief, at least. But I loved, like, Locke's...
Halo 2 as... No.
Ooh, I can't remember if you finished Halo 2 as Chief or the Arbiter, but admittedly, the Arbiter's a better.
The Arbiter's really cool.
The Arbiter's a great fucking character.
The Arbiter was immediately well characterized.
Yeah, you got into the Arbiter's story quicker than you got into Locke's story.
Yeah, it was a great.
They are two of the main characters. They are literally, they balance each other out. You know,
right?
Mm-hmm.
While they are both honorable characters, right? Who want to do the right thing. And for Master Chief, it's being able to follow orders and do what he has to do, but having enough say in himself to sometimes take the other way and be strong, while the Arbiter knows that they are wrong and is acting honorably by not following them and exposing the Covenant for what they are.
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, so I didn't hate Halo 5, but it was more of a disappointment than 4. However, Halo Infinite's fucking phenomenal.
And I also love the idea from 4 of there being like a hyper extremist society that, like, even though the Covenant had fallen, they still believe in the Covenant. I thought that was very realistic. That was very understandable. What would have been better if another alien species called the Prometheans, who had been in contact with the Forerunners in the past, were coming from another galaxy, you know? And you could have had the same exact story. You could have had the Didact, you could have had this, you could have had that, and then making them the Forerunners, continue to, without having to break down that whole backstory and not ruin that. Just make them from a fucking different, just like they did in Star Wars, you know, later on after in the books.
The Yuuzhan Vong was a really interesting story in the books, and I'm kind of disappointed they didn't. That's just EU now and not canon. But let's see, for actual biggest disappointment of a game, I actually don't have that many because I'm not a huge gamer, so I mostly stick to the franchises I like. So I'm gonna say it's the Sonic the Hedgehog game that came out in like 2009. I want to say.
You could be talking about any of them.
Specifically the one that came out for Xbox 360 in 2009. Or no, I'm not even going to say that one because I didn't play enough of that one to genuinely hate it as much. Shadow the Hedgehog was such a huge disappointment. Because Shadow is my favorite fucking Sonic character, and I realized how much he is a better character when Sonic is there as a foil to him. And when he was there on his own and they just were like, we're going to make Shadow use guns and say fuck. And it was like, I didn't want that. I just wanted to play like just all the levels in Sonic Adventure 2 that you play as Shadow. I just wanted a game of that. Like, so Shadow the Hedgehog might be my biggest disappointment of a game ever.
See, I think I don't really have great answers to this because I can smell a terrible game a mile away. I've never played Shadow the Hedgehog. I've never played a Sonic game after Sonic Adventure 2. Except
Sonic Heroes was fun.
I played Heroes. I played Generations, and I played Mania, the only good ones.
I was gonna say Heroes and Shadow are the last two I played. Sonic Adventure 2 will forever be one of my favorite games of all time. Let's see.
Shadow the Hedgehog's a bad. Yeah, Shadow the Hedgehog decides it throws away the whole like Shadow's the ultimate life form designed by Gerald Robotnik, and he's also secretly like half alien from another dimension, and those aliens are back, and they want him back. I don't know. I don't know why. Okay, we were just having this discussion on my stream the other day. There are years of fantastic characterization and storytelling for Sonic in the Archie comics. It all comes back to Archie comics.
It always comes back to fucking Archie
comics. And in the Saturday morning cartoon, which was like the darkest freaking take on Sonic I've ever seen. Like Robotnik in that show is like Kingpin in Daredevil scary. Like he's so good.
I think I only saw a little bit of that show.
Oh, it's so
Okay, quick question. Am I remembering this correctly? Was there the Kingpin was in the Spider-Man television show? Was Daredevil also in the Spider-Man show? Was there a Daredevil show, or did Daredevil just show up in there? Oh, we're gonna Google it now. I just wanted you guys to know.
I was gonna say I don't know.
I don't remember Daredevil ever being in that show.
Because Kingpin's originally a Spider-Man villain, not a Daredevil villain. He wasn't a Daredevil villain, I think, until Frank Miller recreated Daredevil.
Oh, he appeared in 3 episodes of Spider-Man the Animated Series.
It's been a long time.
Which is not
I gotta
a lot,
rewatch that.
frankly.
Okay,
No,
we're taking
there's, like,
very long
I
to
don't
answer
think it
each
was one of the
question
most
because we're so detailed and thorough with our answers. The next question is character's favorite Pokemon.
You literally have the two people that are like running around like trying to like mastermind around the secret organization.
That's
and then
true.
The two other people that are just like, let us drink and fight, are like not here. So we're gonna be like, well, actually, in 1996,
Yeah, this
you
is a
know,
nerd
there was a assistant director on that film who you know, it's just like, geez,
Which is
what do you
part of
expect
why
from
we
us?
shouldn't be Googling things, because then we can get things wrong and get more engagement from all the
That's a good
people who are
point.
going to step in like, I'm actually.
Yeah,
we-
I think Unleashed is
that.
the one Dane's talking about. Was there a werewolf involved, Dane?
In what?
A werehog, sorry.
Wait, in what?
In the last Sonic game you played.
I don't remember. I didn't
remember
play
a
that
werehog.
much of it. I
Hard to
stopped
remember-
playing it
hard
because
to
I
forget
didn't
a
like
werehog.
it. I don't think if there was a werehog, I didn't get to it. Okay, so character's favorite Pokemon. Does that? I'm gonna assume that means our D&D character's favorite Pokemon. In which case, I don't have one. So I'm just gonna say mine, which is tie between Lucario and Sandslash.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
What the fuck does that mean?
Of course, like you have like one that's essentially like Lucario's the gray one, right? That's like an
He's-
alien.
No, he's a jackal.
It's a bird.
Hold on, Lucario.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm thinking Lugia.
Oh, speaking of Lugia, big fucking nerd moment coming right
the
now.
one that looks like a fucking samurai, and then Sandslash, whose arms are swords, are your two favorite.
Why do you have a Lugia statue?
So this is from a convention that happened in the year 2000. Only 6 of these were made, and I happened to win one of them when I was 6 years old.
What?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was they set
amazing.
they set the Nintendo store in Manhattan up like a Pokemon Center, and it was literally like walking into a dream as an elementary schooler. I don't know that I've ever reached that level of euphoria again in my life. And then I won this, and I probably cried, and it's been a prized possession of mine ever since.
Really quickly, I am the child of divorced parents. Okay. And so my dad would always try to do stuff that I wanted to do to be the good parent, right? And I went to the Nintendo store so many times out of fucking guilt, and it was just kind of like, my dad must have hated. And I never bought anything. That was the one thing. He never bought me anything at the store. We would just like go there and like walk around and be like, oh, the new Game Boy, and just like walking around.
I was gonna say, I don't think they would have bought me anything there because we were poor, but I won it. That was even better. I won a fucking raffle.
Very expensive store.
It's the shortest lived character I've made. Mine is Agrius von Zugmord. Yes.
I guess mine's
make it through an
Mitsuki.
entire campaign. I mean, an
Yeah.
entire episode.
Yes. Didn't even.
Yeah, I guess
made it
mine's
about an hour,
Mitsuki.
right?
I think Mitsuki's the first character I've ever had who's died in the same episode that he debuted in. So
Definitely all our
Oh.
characters from the train
Oh.
episode.
Okay, so can I mention something really quickly?
Please.
So I started setting up the mini series, the follow up, and do you guys want to hear the premise of just the beginning of what you guys know?
Obviously.
Okay. Stop bullying your brother. Get down, one of you. Mr. Cyrus, get down. That is the premise.
it's okay. I talk to my cats the same
We're
way.
all
It's great.
cats fighting in JD's apartment.
Okay. It has been 10 years since the train has arrived to Zeroth, and the Godslayers are gone.
More like Gonslayer.
Agrius von Zugmort appears out of a pile of adamithrilium, like the Terminator,
Oh.
naked.
No. Picture this. Dual suns over
Sicily,
this-
1912.
Oh,
Sorry.
Dual suns rise over the edge, and a hand pulls out of the desert outside of the Sarlacc pit. Who is it? Boba Fett. You know the beginning of the Boba Fett was what
What was
Patton
that?
Oswalt.
I know.
Yeah, it was exactly
Yeah.
that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, so don't say anything.
I haven't either.
It's good.
Look at Boba.
So
So yeah, that is the beginning of the story, and then that's where the Godslayers are gone, and Emperor Nemertev sits on the throne of Rukon.
Oh,
Nice.
jeez.
okay.
Dibs on playing him.
Oh God. Okay, so we need Ragtag and Nikita's favorite Pokemon, though.
Ragtag. If it's Nikita's, it's Meowth.
Yeah.
Good.
My favorite Pokemon is Persian, but Ragtag's is probably
Your favorite Pokemon is Persian?
yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought he was cool.
Because that's the snake. I mean the cat, right? The one that Meowth evolves
The big-
into.
yeah.
Yeah.
The big cat. I don't know.
Okay.
It's just yeah. That was my that was like the first Pokemon I leveled up to 99 in Pokemon Red. So that was always like I don't know, the first one. Ragtag's favorite Pokemon is someone mechanical.
Execute.
Oh, I'm gonna say
Um,
I'm gonna say he's
uh,
very interested by Magneton and how they all
Mm.
fit
That's a good one.
together. Yeah,
Isn't it Magnetron?
No,
Or is it
Magneton.
Magneton,
as a
Magnemite,
kid, I said Magneton.
right?
Magnemite and Magneton.
All right. Nikita's most and least favorite spell.
My least favorite spell is the one that hits me, and my most favorite spell is the one that crit hits.
How many
That's a
spells do you
very
have that
Nikita
can hit
answer.
you?
I got a couple new ones. No, I'm not gonna say anything yet.
Let's see.
Boomerang,
Scrolling through.
Firebolt.
That was a lot of conversation, so I need to find more where the questions went. Oh God, the chat is going fast.
79
Top
asked,
three
what are the top
characters
three
we've ever
characters?
made in D&D.
So I
the
don't
what?
know that I've made that many characters in D&D.
So
I mean,
one
I've
of
made-
my I think the greatest character that has ever existed in D&D was Admiral Yeef the Beef Greer, hands down most
Yeef's
memorable
pretty solid.
character of all time.
I am still so attached to all our characters from that campaign.
We just played them for so long, dude.
We did. Yeah.
And and I think this is just a result of specifically what campaign was written for them. Even though they hit level 20, we were they just got out of the story arcs, the personal story arcs that started making them who they are, which is
Mhm.
why we will absolutely have future campaigns where we
Good,
return
good.
to those
Oh,
characters.
thank God.
I
And
would love to.
I also feel like and I've talked about this with, I think both of you, that like both Shag and Ragtag are very much me, but like different parts of me.
Well, that's all D&D characters,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm more comfortable identifying with Shag than I am with Ragtag. Like Shag is a much easier part of me to accept, and Ragtag is like a way harder part to look at, I feel like.
The nerdy, like awkward person is the hard
Yeah.
one to be.
Yes. And the sexy, all-powerful warlock is the cool one, believe it or not.
But yeah, so let's see. Have you guys made 3 characters?
I made a bunch of NPCs in my other campaign that I
I have
ran.
made 3 characters.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I think-
really liked Wrinkly Cheeks. Wrinkly Cheeks was a lot of
Wrinkly
fun.
was great.
So good.
Wrinkly Cheeks was a very good character.
Let's see. So
And
what?
and it was he was just like so loud and abrasive. It was great.
I kind of liked, and this isn't a player character, I kind of liked the king I had set up for you at the end of Business of Banshees. I just tried
That
to
was-
make
yeah.
him like unsettlingly
Oh, the
just,
mayor.
like- yeah, the mayor. I just tried to make him like unsettlingly corporate and American. Like he was the only person I did an American accent for. And I just did it like really straight, for almost bordering on like on Trevor Slattery's Mandarin accent. Like that's what I had in mind. Just like something is wrong in there.
Mhm.
I liked the way I played him.
And I'll
but-
say, I do regret killing him. I
have
thought
no
about it afterwards. That was an impulsive decision because it was a one shot, and I was like, "This is just what we were sent to do. I'll do it." But I do actually think murdering him in cold blood is out of character for who I set Sylvar up to be. And that I think what he actually would have done would be to like just cut him to get the blood on his blade and say like, "Get out of here and
Oh,
don't
yeah.
come
We
back."
could retcon that. Nobody
And
else saw.
because I was gonna say like I didn't, because you just said we were doing banshees, and banshees typically are more like marauders, and to do what they did, like hey, we got to take care of like this mayor who's causing us a lot of trouble in our like our organized crime and how we're going about this. That is something banshees would do. That's just not what I thought the campaign was going to be. So I made more of a thief-esque character than a killer. And
Yes.
I think I adapted him well, but that's the one thing where I was like, ooh, I actually don't know that he would have done that. But it was still fun. But let's see. So top 3 characters that we've ever made. I think Dean only has 3 characters. So Shag.
That's correct. I will rank
gonna say
them Shag, Ragtag, Agrius, but I like them all very much.
I wrote a
Um,
character. This is probably my second favorite. Obviously, Yeef. I love Yeef. I love Nikita. But there was an NPC that I wrote for another story, for another campaign that I wrote, and I never got to finish that character's arc. But essentially, it was like something that I was super excited about, where essentially he was the son of the orc chief who was slowly losing his mind, but he had once been a really wonderful father, and he was having a really hard time going and like murdering other orcs that were not part of their and watching his father's descent into madness. And in the storyline that I was going to write, he was eventually going to have to make a decision depending on the actions of the campaign whether he would betray his father and join them to help defeat his father, or if he would make the choice of having to stand by his father and essentially become what his father was becoming. And writing that character and developing him into what being able to develop an NPC as a DM based off the choices that the campaign was taking was something that I was really looking forward to doing. And unfortunately, that campaign kind of fell apart because everybody was in the music industry and like work was starting to come back, and not everybody was available to play. So they all had like night jobs working at clubs and stuff. So that all fell apart. But I would love that character was also super badass, and he was inspired by by Game of Thrones, that he had 2 magical swords that would like ignite on fire when he was gonna fight. So it was gonna be awesome. And one of the campaign members was his cousin, who so the first interaction they had was like, "What are you doing here?" And the other guy's like, "What are you doing here?" Kind of discussions like, "I should kill you right now," but because he has love for his family, he lets him go and says, "You have 24 hours to get off this land or we're gonna kill you." And then I was gonna set some stuff up for them to be able to kind of begin to turn the son against his father, and kind of make him a very important figure in that. So either having to A, fight him with his igniting swords, or B, getting him to be on his side would have been an awesome campaign moment either one, because
I'm
then it was going to
curious.
be like cousin against cousin or father against son.
As both of you really, really get into the world building, the character building of all this, I'm reminded of this great like Tumblr screenshot I've seen, which is just like, sometimes I just want to DM a campaign and play all the parts by myself and just tell a story that way. And
You
then
mean
the
write a
next
book?
post is just, I've been informed this is called writing a book. Has that ever appealed to you as like a form of storytelling? Have you tried writing a story of any kind?
I started writing the first campaign, the Origin of Godslayers, as a book. I got about 6 chapters in.
Of course, you got
And
6 chapters in.
It was but it took a
6
long
chapters,
time. It took like
40,000 words.
It took like months for me to get that. And that was actually the problem, was like I realized it was really hard to retell the events of it without just saying exposition and retell the events through character dialogue and things like that. Because obviously I have to I don't remember the dialogue from, I think I was like 21 or 22 when I started that. And at that point, that campaign had ended like 8-9 years before.
Yeah.
So like I obviously didn't
Yes, you remember
remember
broad
most of
strokes.
any dialogue that wasn't like really integral, like badass one-liners or something. And so having to recreate a lot of those events that were role-played in real time with character writing dialogue was weird and difficult, and I found my chapters were going by kind of quickly. So I kind of ended up abandoning ship. Like I hit a wall with it where it's like I know everything that happens, but I don't know how to properly say it all. That's why I'm kind of a lot happier that we're doing the streaming now, because it's so much better of a like medium for getting these kinds of stories out there.
I've only completed one, other than my poems, I've completed only one story. And in the 8th grade, me and for our school, we were in drama class and we had to do like a final show. And me and my buddy went all out and we rewrote the beginning of Aragon. And we wrote all new,
You mean Star Wars?
essentially, yeah, essentially.
I love that.
I loved Aragon. We wrote the whole introduction as 3, like him meeting the his teacher, Brahm, that was his name, meeting Brahm, and we wrote that into a 1-act 3-scene play, and it was literally 15 minutes. We wrote 15 minutes of dialogue in the 8th grade. It was everyone else was doing like 2-3 minute sketches, and we wrote a whole short play.
Jesus.
And we practiced. We would meet up after school.
That's
and we
amazing.
would practice it. We had lightsabers to like I believe I was gonna be the Aragon character and he was gonna be the Brahm character. And then the end of year performance in front of the whole school and our parents and everything, it was going too long. And it was literally our class was the last class to go, and the assistant principal ended the show. She ended the show. We were all crushed, dude. We were crushed. We had worked so hard on that thing. We had props. We had the costumes that we had built, and literally minutes before we were supposed to go on, the entire class got cut.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Damn, I was gonna say like I had a similar thing in my junior year of high school when we read Macbeth, and then everyone got like one of the scenes to get in a group and do, and my group got the actual fight between Macbeth and Macduff. So a friend of mine, Ben, we rehearsed a lot of the sword choreography from Anakin versus Obi-Wan in Revenge of the Sith.
Yes.
And also got our lightsabers. And we did about a 3-minute rendition of that fight. It was like I was gonna say, it was some of the technically least effort of any of the groups we put in, because we didn't actually have to act. We just like said a few lines and then just sword fought for a few minutes.
That's amazing.
But my teacher gave us
the swinging where you both missed each other, because if you didn't do that part, then it's not choreography.
I think we did. We're talking 11 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but I think we did.
That's the most important part of that scene fight.
Best lightsaber fight in the entire series is Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul, hands down.
And Count Dooku versus Yoda.
Also very good. Also very good. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Count Dooku versus Yoda and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul are
It is so
good.
stupid how they approach it now. They're swinging these things like they're heavy. No, they weigh like a pound. There's
Yeah.
no weight
Mhm.
in a lightsaber.
Yeah, that I was very bugged by all of the lightsaber fights in the
God
sequel
awful.
trilogy. But anyway, to because we never actually finished the three best D&D characters. My top two are for sure Darkwind and Aplodicus. My first two that I played for I mean, they
those
are
are the only
my
characters of his I
Geef and
know.
Shag. Like, you know, I lived with them as part of me. I like grew with them because that was the thing. I made them when I was 10, and I played them until I was 14. So
Oh,
like,
geez, yeah.
I played them
I
at
only
such a
played Shag for
pivotal
a
point
year,
in
yeah.
growing up
I can't
that
imagine.
like.
At that
like-
age, especially, yeah.
I was
wow.
gonna say they grew with me through some real like coming of age shit in my actual life.
Mhm.
That while they were going through some coming of age shit in the game, because in game they were 19 and 20, and in campaign it even took a few years. So I think they were like 22 and 23 by the end of the campaign. And it's like their shit that they went through in that campaign while I was going through like middle school and early high school shit was
Mhm.
like I think did help me like partially become the person I became, was because like at 13 years old I was like being put in situations in a game where I had to like choose to like sacrifice myself at times and like be heroic. And like I liked that I had both this like Darkwind was inspired by Aragorn, and I wanted him to be this very honorable, you know, semi Boy Scout, kind of lawful good person who just wanted to protect people. And then Aplodicus was inspired by Han Solo. I just wanted him to be the vagabond jackass, and who just, you know, flirted with everyone and had fun. And it was both. I'm glad that I played both of them and got to explore both of those sides of my own personality, because that was a big growing experience. As for third character, I will either say that it is the character Raiden, who is a Godslayer that everyone has yet to meet on screen yet, but he was just kind of a fun character to play, which it's like after two characters who I had to like grow with, playing a character who was just this kind of Legolas-y character where he's a bit chill about everything and just, you know, goes and fights and stuff like that. Playing him was kind of a fun thing. And then I want to say the thing I played him in was like an 8-game mini campaign. So I got to play him for more than a game or two. I do really like Sylvar, actually, and that's honestly my first player character in years. Because like,
Who the hell was Sylvar?
in the Banshees one shot,
Air Genasi.
half Air Genasi, half Snow Elf. I was like, I never play a player character. If I'm gonna make one, I'm gonna stuff a few things together.
He was a ranger slash...
Ranger. Yep.
Ranger, yeah.
No, he was just Ranger. I like Mitsuki a lot too. I think I like Silver had a bit more backstory. Which I don't know why I did that for a one-off. Murdoff was fun, but Murdoff was just silly. I had fun playing her, but that was I wouldn't put that on the same tier.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think what would have been my third favorite character I've played is actually the one that I only got 4 games in Dean's campaign. That character never got explored, but had he gotten explored, had that campaign continued, I think Ahsoka would have potentially become one of my favorite characters to play.
Yes.
Ahsoka was dark. Not like he was evil or anything, but like his story was dark, and I liked getting to play that in it. It was like, because it's a similar background to Darkwind and Aplodicus, but he was a very different character personality wise. So I liked getting to explore a similar idea from a different angle. So
this brings me, as I'm constantly thinking about my next campaign
mm-hmm.
and what that is going to be when we hopefully run it someday. What is kind of your goal when running a campaign? What's the first thing you work on? How do you write a campaign?
The first thing I work on is what is the point? What is the big picture of it? Is it something political? Is it something otherworldly? Is it is it a battle that has to happen? Is it a turning point in history type thing that has to happen? So I figure out what's the story and the overall conflict, and then where are the characters starting, and then I can kind of flesh out all of the in between points, like the kind of major steps that have to happen on the way there. And then maybe just a lot more detail for just the beginning portion of it. And then I'll write usually the first 4 or 5 games of a campaign before the campaign even starts. And then once we get to that point, it gets a lot more week to week, depending on what the players do, because I really try not to railroad. And it gets unavoidable sometimes. At the end of the day, I can only prepare so much, and you kind of have to adhere at least a little bit to what has been prepared. I can improv, if I need to, but it's not my strong suit. So I try to over prepare. And I know not all DMs are like that. That's me. Because if I under prepare, then I've found my improvs in the past I've been not always 100% happy with them. I feel oh, I could have done more, or I could have done something different. I could have thought of something different. So I try to over prepare, and then I play a little bit of that by ear. So it's okay, I make 4 different choices they could take and flesh out what would happen should they take any of them, because they'll probably take one of them, or at least something kind of close to one of them.
Right, and then you can just roll with one of those plans.
And then whatever I plan for the next week after that game is going to depend on which thing you did. Which, of course, you guys 4 times out of 10 will find a somehow 5th option.
Yep. Inevitably.
As it goes.
Hand the fucking Rod of Dacis to Aiden. The unexpected 5th option. I can't believe how much
that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, there were 6 different ways that could have led to you fighting him in episode 3, which was originally the plan. You were going to fight him in episode 3. I think 11 is when you killed him, because we just had episode 18.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So, question: what were the other ways that it could have? Are there any ways you could tell us without? Oh
no, you're good. At this point, you're past that point in the story. It was either going to be you someone tried to take the rod and run with it, in which case he was going to attack you in the swamp, or you were going to get back to Ekron and then try to get away with the rod, and he was going to attack you there and try to get it. There were a few different things, just kind of planning for since all of you except Ragtag had reason to want the rod for yourselves, to set up potential points of him stopping anyone from getting away with it. Which at that point would have also been the reveal that all of the reasons you were all sent there were bullshit.
Right.
And he was just playing all of you.
I will never that was such.
But then the charismatic thing of him trying to get you to give it to him, that I didn't expect anyone to fall for. I thought all of you were going to think he was way too sus to trust. But
see, that was the thing. I know sus people, and I was also sus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was gonna go with the
sus enough
thing.
to trust.
Yeah.
And that was such that moment for me was ooh, this is gonna be an interesting campaign.
That was the beginning of the breaking of the fellowship.
And I was gonna say, and so far it has been an interesting campaign. It's tonally, yes. I would say I've never had a campaign that is tonally quite like this in terms of the character dynamics, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
I guess the closest was probably the original campaign, the Founding Godslayers, because there were some very different character dynamics at play, and there was butting of heads between characters, but there was at the end of the day, there's a thing bigger than all of us that we would be fools to not handle, and we got to work together for it. And the process of working together for it saw those 7 become a family. And this
7 players.
It was 5 players. 2 of us were playing 2 characters each. I was playing Darkwind and Apollodicus at the same time, which is batshit. I would never play 2 characters at the same time now. That was 10-year-old me being like, I can't decide if I want to play a ranger or a rogue, so I'm going to do both. Because I didn't fucking know about multi-classing.
Yeah.
But now we have Apollodicus and who are 2 very strong characters.
I was gonna say I'm very glad it happened because they're very different characters. And it's the same thing with my brother. It was because he made Adema and Gabriel, who are and I don't think that was because he couldn't decide if he wanted to play a ranger or a paladin. It's because he couldn't decide which of those characters to play, who are so fundamentally different. And so he did both of them, and I'm so glad he did, because they were such needed dynamics for that group. And so yeah, it was 5 players, but 7 characters in game, and it came together so well, and really laid the groundwork for everything we did after that. Even the Sentinels campaign, which is chronologically earlier, even that, the groundwork was there by what happened chronologically 10 years later.
We are also technically kind of playing 6 characters with 4 players right now.
Kind of. I mean, 2 of them are kind of sub-in characters.
I do honestly want to roleplay just a little bit.
I wouldn't mind roleplaying as Nadia, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit.
I mean, I intentionally left them a little bit open in terms of like who they are, to leave a little bit of room for that for you guys. But at the end of the day, they aren't characters that you created from scratch. So you're a little bit limited in how you can role play them.
But that's exactly what I want to play within the limitations that you've created.
Yeah. I
think that's the challenge, and that's the excitement of it, you know?
Yeah, and I think you should. I mean, I'm not going to stop you guys from RPing in real time in any of those situations. I even considered kind of doing the same thing on your end of it, so Riley and Wes.
I was wondering if you were going to, but we haven't really.
I was going to say
combat in a while.
And also the specific situations you've got in haven't really been ones where you can tag along a couple of similarly leveled characters.
I think that the way you're running it right now, of letting them do their thing and be that adventure, you know, with the Godslayer while we're sneaking around, is I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's well, and I think that anybody else would just make it more complicated on our end. I mean, we wouldn't get to be and stuff. Who would we trust? We can't trust anybody except maybe the Godslayers, because they're Godslayers.
Mm-hmm. Also, Musique, wishing you could play as a player forever, DM gang. It's weird because I was a player for 8 years before I DM'd in any real capacity. Like, I think I DM'd once when I was 16 for like 2 games, and I'm sure they weren't good. I don't even really remember them. I just know I did it. And I'm sure I didn't do a good job. So my first time really DMing seriously, I was like 18, and it was set up that my brother was going to DM again. He was the DM for the large majority of those 8 years. And he was setting up another story, but he only had kind of a skeleton to it. And then stuff wasn't really lining up, and he wasn't going to have the time to put in to really flesh out a good campaign. So he was like, listen, you've had great ideas since day one. You've contributed a lot. Like, why don't you take the mantle right now? And, you know, I'll just duck back and play in the campaign, and we'll kind of switch roles a bit. And I was like, okay. And it was very intimidating. And Riley, that was the first Rukon campaign Riley was in, nice. With a few of our, and that's the one that Herba was a player character in. And a few other characters that we haven't met, but that's also the first campaign that like Essidarius was introduced as an NPC.
Essidarius.
Yeah. I mean, he was a semi-important NPC in that campaign. And that ended up being the culmination of the Shadow Wars and the Reclamation campaign.
Quick question. So we've met the ass of Darius. Will we actually meet the Darius?
There is
Archie made his
actually a
brother
character.
Balls of Darius.
There is a character named Darius, who is completely unrelated. He's not a quick wheel. And I mean, you could beat him probably. That's not out of the cards. He's on Godslayer Island.
Death Drops, you've been saying, you want to play D&D. Too bad you're not social. First off, I'm not social outside of D&D and live streaming. Like, in person, I don't do anything.
Also, I don't want to hear Death Trap saying that they're not social when you literally come hang out in the chat when we're just playing video games and stuff all the time, and you're very social. So don't
Yes.
hold yourself to a standard that isn't true. You are a social person. Don't worry
Absolutely.
about it.
We fucking love our community. We see you
Absolutely.
guys.
We see you
Absolutely.
and we
And
hear you.
If you're
And
feeling
also-
like,
Mhm.
I was
Go,
gonna
go.
say, if you're feeling like your storytelling skills aren't there yet, start with the D&D starter kit. Start with one of the
Yeah.
adventures. They have so
There's
many
so many
out
books.
that
Yeah.
just give you exactly what to say, and it helps you kind of build the motions first before you start trying your own stories and stuff. That's what I did. I ran the starter kit.
Also, there's a bunch of people in the thing already in the Discord. Why don't you guys
Oh my
start
God,
a game?
yes! Everybody get
Why don't
together,
you start a game? Start a game. We have the voice chats. Get in the voice chats and start your own game.
Yep.
And if I say I'm terceiro,
Tercero,
but
we know
I
you.
am not a social. I had my fucking terceiro accent down perfect the other day, and I can't recreate it.
Yeah.
Here's what I did, Def. Sucker your friends and family into D&D games for birthdays or special events.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you want to do for your birthday? I wrote a storyline. Please come play for my birthday.
That almost is what happened on my 21st birthday, but it was a semi in-person game for that campaign that I was just talking about, which was mostly remote. It was my brother and I were in person. Riley, it was when I still lived in New York City, so Riley was 2 hours north of me. So, and all of our friends were like scattered, or it was from an online group. They were all like around the country. One of them was Canadian. So like we always played remotely, which was my first time ever doing that. I was always an at the table player for 8 years. And so a couple of my friends actually came to New York for the 4th of July, only a couple weeks before my birthday, back in 2015. And it was so wild having a half in person with like just a few of the remote friends still up on the computer game. It was such a different dynamic than we had done for like the 2 years, 2.5 years or so prior to that. Because that campaign lasted like 4 years. And so, yeah, like we can joke about like that being a birthday, but genuinely, like, write a game for your birthday, invite your friends to come play D&D, and have that be a birthday party.
Yeah,
That actually was my birthday. My birthday this year, I had like a couple friends come over, and we just like impromptu pulled out the book Candlekeep Mysteries, and we did one of the Candlekeep
Nice.
Mysteries for my birthday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'd already done the story for some other people, so I already knew it, and I just DM'd it real quick. It was super fun. One guy just did a Rambo voice for the entire, like a really bad Sylvester Stallone. That was his voice. It was awesome.
Very good.
But no, I definitely can't wait to get to the point where all three of us are DMing games kind of simultaneously, so that we can like take turns being DM and player each week. Because I really love DMing and I love writing the stories, but I love being a player also. And having not been a player seriously since fucking 2012. Like,
guys, what we're saying is you need to tell everybody about our podcast.
When we can do this full time.
When we could do this full time, you're gonna expect 3 stories a week minimum from us. You're gonna get the main campaign, Echoes of Chaos. You're gonna get my campaign, which is the first season, which is gonna be the Birth of Chaos, and then you're gonna get the campaign of what Dean is working on. I have a stutter sometimes, and it really bothers me when it comes up.
I have
But when it's
never ever noticed it.
You never noticed
I
my stutter
no.
before?
I thought when you do that, it's on purpose. I thought you're being ironic.
No. I actually have a stutter.
Interesting.
Yeah,
You play it off so much, like you're just like
I was gonna
making
say
a joke
100%
about.
seemed, yeah.
yeah. I have a stutter.
Interesting.
And it's very soft and it comes in only every once in a while. My father actually has a lisp too.
Interesting.
And it's like my brain knows what it has to say and it gets stuck on the thought, but my mouth keeps moving. And the other campaign would be Dean's campaign of whatever the fuck he's doing over there.
Oh, I got some shit planned.
Yeah. And even like a rotating once a week doing, I would love to do like a rotating like one shot weekly. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the ideal circumstances. We get to the point of streaming 3 days a week, weekly, and it's one Echoes of Chaos game, or like after Echoes of Chaos is eventually done, whatever fucking campaign I'm running. One Dane game, one JD game, one Dean game, because we all have such different flavors of DMing, and I love all of it. And I can't wait to eventually get to that point. That will be fucking great. Musique, what would be crazy if the Discord met up and did a campaign and Tales from Rukon watched. I would watch you guys play D&D. You guys are
Yeah,
great.
jump in.
I would totally hop in the chat for that.
Yeah.
I'll play.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, like Tales from Rukon, this is kind of like a media company of sorts. Like, we are trying to take these ideas that have been developed over the past almost 2 decades and make kind of a product out of it. But at the end of the day, we are just like people playing a game we love.
Yeah, we played this every week for a year just by ourselves. We didn't record any of it. Nothing.
I don't think that we would have had as much fun our very first campaign if we were like trying to make
agree.
something.
I
think
agree.
the only reason that we're able to enjoy ourselves and even during that time we're just like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we did like a campaign where we would like streamed it and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm really grateful that like I'm super grateful. We have a very small community right now, but like we have a fucking community and we have you guys, and like, you know, it just feels really good to see. I just started right there with the it's
I didn't even hear it.
Didn't hear it.
yeah. With that you guys, especially coming over from Dean's community and stuff like that, have just been like, it's been really I'm really grateful for it, you know.
Me
And
too.
that we're not streaming to nobody, which is like, which I've done and is very difficult. Like, it's just like you sit there and you do your thing, and at the end of the day you're like, bye chat, and then like you've spent like the past 2 hours with an empty chat. And the fact that you guys come in every week, and whether you're caught up on the campaign or you're not, or you're just in the podcast, it's super awesome, and I'm very grateful for all of you being here.
Me
And
too.
I just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Shut up! You stream to like 2,000 people, dude. What do
I
you
know.
know?
But I mean, hey, at the end of the day, if chat's like into it, if we have a community, large or small, it just feels great that there's anyone who like genuinely believes in the product like that.
Yeah.
And
Also, I know all the people here in chat are actually like watching and care about what's happening, and the people in my chat are just like, play Megalovania. Not you guys that are here. No, you guys
Yeah.
are wonderful. I'm talking about the other guys.
Yeah.
the other 1,927.
Anybody here has seen my chat, and they're all just like,
Brazil.
play this Friday Night fucking song. Have you played this song? I'm
I don't
like,
understand people. I don't understand people that do that in Twitch chats or like live stream chats that just show up and start demanding things.
Yes.
And I see it in,
As though
in
I'm
tier-
going to ignore what the 1,000 other people here are interested in and bend to the will of you. One
like
person.
I watch it in Cheer Girl stream. Make sure you call her Cheer Girl. And they just come in and they're just like, why are you using that loadout? Well, do you even know how to play the game? Blah blah
As
blah.
though
Like,
she
shut
doesn't
up,
know
there's-
what she's doing.
There's 100 people
Yes.
watching me, and you think that my stream, like, and it's even like on huge streamers too. I'll be like, I watch this one guy called Iron, He's a Warzone player, and he plays very slow, but he like has like thousands of wins. He plays the game to win the match, right? He doesn't play to get like tons of kills. He plays to win. And people show up, and he's just like chilling on a roof, sniping at people for like 5 minutes. And people come in like, "This is boring." Then fucking leave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Why are
fucking
you
cheers here.
I want to see if I can. No, I can't get an angle on
You
this.
can
Shoot.
just say cheer, babe. You don't need the full name. Well, you're not a Twitch partner here. This is YouTube. She
I wish I
screamed,
could.
fuck
Hi,
off from
Mom.
the other room.
That's because I haven't said hi, mom, to cheer in like mad long.
My cat's being an ass. I wish I could turn the camera to this angle, but I can't. But there's a screen. There's like a. It's like a blind door over here to the unfinished section of my basement, and there's just
Wait, you're
enough
in a
of an
basement?
opening. Yeah,
Then what's that window there?
that's a little patio. It's like a walkout basement.
So are you in the basement? Wait,
Yes.
I don't
His
understand your-
property, like from the front of the property, from the back of the property, like slopes.
Yeah. So in front, I'm underground. In the back, I'm ground level.
Okay, got it.
It's weird, but anyway, there's this like screen blind door thing there's just enough of an opening when it's closed that my cat can shove his nose through, and then with enough force push the rest of it open to come through. There's a perfectly functioning door back here that he can push open without any effort, but he chooses to come through this one, and every time he does, I just hear this rustling, and then I turn and see this just it's like being birthed through this door.
Oh god, I'm so
Dumb cat.
glad that the oldest of my cats can open my bedroom door just by sheer force
Terrifying.
of will.
Absolutely terrifying.
Thankfully she hasn't been able to do that to this door because there's way more shit in here that is not as cat friendly. But I do have one cat who's like fucking obsessed with getting in here, and she will wait by the door just so that like as soon as I open it, she just darts the fuck in. I always have to be like, "No, get out!" and I have to like reach behind this thing and like around guitars to try and pick her up.
He's pretty good anywhere in the house, honestly. He really doesn't mess with stuff. He used to
I'm
chew
not-
through wires when he was really young, but now he's good.
They
not
mostly
even in a
don't, but
room.
she gets into shit in here.
I'm not even in a room, guys.
Are you just
You're in a nook, I know.
I'm in a nook. So basically, like, there's the living room, right? And then at the end of the living room, there's the hallway to go towards the kitchen, which is right next to the bathroom. And then there's just like what would essentially be like a dining room right here, but it's like divided into two sections, and there's a very awkward closet that with a wall that divides the two sections. So there's no actual door. You just kind of like keep walking past my little nook in this corner to go over to the what's it called? Kitchen and bathroom. I kind of wish that there was a way and our bedroom is so small. I wish that there was a way for us to be able to fit Cheers stream in there, and for us to have a little bit more separation, because you literally go into the living room and she's in the corner of the living room, like right next to the heat. So it's just kind of like there's
yeah,
like
you got to get her own
that-
space.
yeah. If we're able to move back to our old apartment, we had 3 rooms in that apartment. So our bedroom was huge. Our bedroom's like the size of our living room now. And then we had our living room, then we had a dining room, then we had the one room that was like my studio space, and then we had the room that was our old roommate's room that will probably end up being her streaming room.
Cool. Oh, that'd be
Because
perfect.
it's like a small room, but
Mhm.
it's like it'll very perfectly fit her whole setup in there, and it's in the front of the house and very isolated. So it'll be awesome.
And then I'll
good.
come sleep on your couch again for a week.
Yeah. Did you sleep on the couch or did you sleep on
No,
the sofa bed?
The sofa bed.
Yeah.
I slept on there with Taylor.
Yeah, you did. What's his name? Slept on the sofa.
Wheeler?
Wheeler. Yeah, people call me JD. No, you're Wheeler now. I'm JD.
Oh yeah.
The
but-
drummer,
what?
he goes by JD, right? Like and then it was just like when I met him, I like the very first thing I said to him was just like, "Hey, so what's your full name? He's like, oh, JD Wheeler. Now just like, what do people call you? Oh, they call me JD. Well, I'm JD, so no one's gonna call you that. You're Wheeler now. And we only called him Wheeler for
That's
the rest of
amazing.
the fucking time that we were there.
But it was funny because like he went through like an identity crisis about it, and then literally
Who
like
am
he bought a hat in Brooklyn, wore the
Yeah.
hat the whole rest of the tour, and went like, right now I'm JD. He puts the hat on, and this is Wheeler. Like it was
Yeah.
great. I fucking miss him so much.
He just gave up once he put that hat on. He put on he bought the he was bald, and he put on he got a very good the Breaking Bad character Heisenberg. He
Oh
put on
God!
the
Oh
Heisenberg hat,
no, that kind of
but
hat.
but it fucking like a pork pie hat. But he's like 6'2", chunky dude with
Oh,
a
that's
big ass
wonderful.
head, and it fucking fit his head perfectly, and he rocked that hat.
He
There
looked
was
great.
he looked great in that hat. It was a very good. It just fit him.
But yeah, I just remember him just being like, I can't even argue. Like it's not even your nickname. That's just your name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That supersedes anything else. It's great.
So guys, we've been doing this for like 2 hours. Any last questions from chat before
Yeah,
we
yeah,
wrap
yeah.
up? Before we end up going for 4 hours, which we easily could.
Yeah. Well, I want to go play some Tarkov. So.
And I'm sure I have something to watch or Halo to play or both.
I'll probably go play a round of Blade and Sorcery.
And hell, I might even do it in the Discord to keep the party going a little bit.
Oh yeah, I was
Um,
thinking of turning on my Twitch stream if anybody wants to come hang out there afterwards.
Hell yeah, JD and I can fight for our tiny audience.
You could be in multiple. You could be in multiple streams at once.
That is true.
Think about the internet.
First name is Sabrina. Meeting other Sabrinas in real life is like the Spider-Man meme. There's a new Sabrina in my stream who's been showing up a lot. She's a really awesome. She's been producing this like really 80s, reminds me of like early Madonna like flavored music. It's really sick. Just drop some of it
Do you
in the
guys
Discord.
kind of impersonate yourselves during stream? If yes, how are you in real life? I'm an absolute asshole in real life. That's why I play an absolute asshole on the internet. Like I don't know what more you want me to say.
I was
I've
gonna
never
say,
met JD in real life, so
I
don't
think
know.
Yeah, I never met Dean in real life either. If anything, the deadpan sarcasm is worse in real life because then you can't read my body. Like here, my body language is like here up, right? You only
Yes.
get face. But then
Yes.
like you see me in real life and I'll give you the deadpan
It's even
sarcasm
more
and my
convincing.
body doesn't even say anything. Like I don't give any
Oh God.
kind of
see now, like, so I can't speak for me. Like, you guys all know me in real life. And by all, I mean JD and Dean. You guys know me in real life, so you have a better frame of reference for if I'm the same person on stream. I think both of you are definitely 100% yourselves on stream, the same as I've ever known either of you in real life. I agree JD's sarcasm is worse in real life. Thankfully, I wasn't at the butt end of most of it in most of the time I was with you in person, because there were,
mostly Vinny.
I was gonna say, there were worse people than me around to receive it. And not that I don't deserve it when I do receive it. I wholly accept it.
It was great
Riley,
doing it to what's his name? Keith.
Vinny, Keith, yeah.
It was my favorite to do it with Keith because he would get so mad about it.
It was
so
pretty
mad,
funny.
and I fucking hated him by the end. I despised him. The best
It was
moment,
just-
the
it was
best
just-
moment of that, really,
Yeah.
it was a stinger.
Oh.
I want you to know this guy sucked so bad. He sucked so hard that the greatest moment of that entire tour was when we got a hotel room. All of us got on the beds before he got in there, and he said, "Are you guys not going to let me sleep on a bed?" And we said, "No, but we'll give you some pillows for the floor." And that kid, instead of sleeping on the floor, went and slept in the van by himself. And that, for me, that night, the 5 of us hanging out in that hotel room without Keith, before we
best night of
hated
the tour.
Vinny, was the best night of the tour.
God, I was so upset that Vinny became a dick by the end of the tour. He was great in the first couple days.
Oh.
But Taylor and JD, if either of you are watching this, we fucking love you and miss you.
I'm
But
watching
yeah,
it now.
as for impersonating yourselves, Riley is somehow even nicer in person.
Yes.
Like as
From
much
the few
as
times I've met him in person, yes.
Like he's playing a dickhead. It's so weird to see him play Thrag because he has historically always played fucking Captain America ass D&D characters. Like you two only know Aoth. He has played that before. Aoth is not his first rodeo as Steve Rogers. So it's really weird seeing him play not a human, not a cleric or paladin or something, and just play a drunk dickhead. And I absolutely love seeing it.
Riley seems like the kind of guy that hugs you when he sees you.
For sure. Yeah. Like he is genuinely one of the nicest people I've ever met. Wes is more confident on screen.
Yeah.
He's quieter in person.
He is.
Wes
He's much
or Riley?
quieter in person.
Wes is quieter in person.
Oh,
Very quiet
absolutely.
in person.
So I don't know that he's impersonating himself. I think he's just comfortable on stream. Like this is his element, and I'm happy about that.
I'm happy that he feels. I'm glad that's another thing, because I remember Wes when we first started playing, and he didn't really say much, and he was very quiet, especially playing his first character. Like he was still figuring him out.
An invisible rogue, basically.
Yes. Yeah, that's what he was. I'm just in the background, and now he's like really come out of his box as Galad, and I think he's doing a really great job. He has Galad down. He knows what Galad means, and I think it's pretty awesome.
I think it's inspiring some confidence within him to play a character like that. It's great.
Yeah. Who stands his ground. He doesn't back down from Nikita, and I love that about him. He stands his ground against
very good.
Nikita.
Ragtag absolutely just chickens out in a second.
Yeah. Because Nikita's a very strong personality that has something to say and goes their way, and Galad doesn't back down from that.
Well,
so I feel like I can turn Thrag a little bit. I
was gonna say Thrag, it's less because he would back down and more just because he's easygoing enough that he like will voluntarily go with stuff like that more. Unless it really goes
2 hours
against. See, so the last thing I'll say is actually a question from me to the two of you, which is, do I impersonate myself on stream? I have no idea.
No,
genuinely.
not even a little bit.
No, not even a little bit. I don't even think you're physically capable of doing so.
I don't either.
You can literally tell because all of your D&D characters are mildly in the same vein, and they all are you.
I was gonna say I can tell because the first few days you came to work at the job we both used to work at was you just spouting exposition about yourself, and I learned so much about you in those couple days, like it was the first episode of a D&D game.
I don't always do that with people. I specifically did that with you because it was like you were the one person there.
It was wonderful.
I was gonna say you were the one person there who I was like, oh, this guy has like everything in common with me. That's great.
Yes,
like I just wanted friends at work because I hate working in a place where I don't have friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And I was like, oh, new job, need a couple friends at least. And for a while, I thought it was just you. And then Wes just pops out crawls out from the back where we had never seen. I was like, I've seen this man for maybe 40 seconds in the first month and a half I've worked there. And he's just like, so here you play D&D. And it was like a 90-minute conversation.
So to answer something Subby said earlier, Wes's IRL a cryptid you will rarely see.
Yeah,
yes,
100%.
That's absolutely true. To the point that one time, it was one of those holidays that falls on a Monday, and it was like 1 p.m. and Wes texts the group text at work like, "Hey, are we closed today?" We're like, "Yes," and he'd been there all day.
Oh, that was Martin Luther King Day. That's right.
He had been there all day. This week, there was a snow day at work this week, and nobody told him. And our boss drove in at like 11. It was like, oh shit. Because he's so detached from the rest of the company there. Just so
I will have to say
deep in trombones.
Well, there was one more thing I was gonna say. Now I can't remember. What were we talking about before, Wes?
Dan, and whether he impersonates himself, and the band you were all in for a brief moment. That's all I can remember. Spider-Man before that.
Lots of Rukon lore.
Actually,
not a lot of Rukon, not a lot of legitimate Rukon lore, more just the idea of the Rukon lore. Which is fun, because then the Rukon lore gets to happen naturally in the campaign.
All of his characters have a strict moral code, right? They all are extremely proficient at what they do. they all use swords, and they all are like either like a ranger or a thief. They're all like in that like action.
Murdoch didn't use a sword.
What did
Murdoch
Murdoch
was a
do?
wizard.
Yeah, staff.
Murdoch was
But he's-
like straight wizard.
But he still had that
She?
She.
I don't know who which campaign was that?
That was
that
the
was the
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. Okay, that was
Yeah.
the only one where you kind of like broke away from that.
I
But
don't
it still
remember
had
what Riley played.
let's
I
see.
don't remember what you who was there.
It was Murdoch. It was Throth. Riley was one of the greatest characters ever. Philbo. And
Philbo.
Bilbo
and
Greg.
Greg.
and Greg.
And Greg.
Oh God, I gotta
talk
rewatch
like-
that.
I'll talk like this, and then by the end, and then after the 100th episode,
Yeah,
like,
normal.
and now I talk like this.
Hmm.
I
I'm
gotta
tired of you
rewatch
guys
that. That
talking
was
about
so
my
funny.
voice.
I was gonna say, so JT, you haven't actually seen that many of my player characters. I guess I like swords just as a weapon. I try to get a range of them though, because there's so many different kinds. So
Yeah,
like,
but a sword's a sword. A sword's a sword.
I guess, but I don't know. I've never been
defense,
that into axes or
disagree,
hammers
But
personally.
there's the pokey kind and the slashy kind, and they're very different.
There's a pokey kind and a slashy kind, right? But like it's not like but all of your characters so far, I felt were like very sure of themselves.
I guess I go for different personality types in them being sure of themselves, but Murdoch wasn't sure of herself, and that was a character choice. That's not like that
Yeah.
wasn't built
Who
into
did I-
anything.
Was it you and me that were in a relationship by the end of it?
No, it was you and Riley.
Me and Riley. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, Murdoch was into women.
Philbo and Throth. And Greg.
But yeah, so let's see. Darkwind, I think that's the thing. When I first played Darkwind, he wasn't that confident. He was a 19-year-old kid, refugee prince, child of prophecy who had no idea what the fuck to do. And I played him that way for a while, and he got to grow into someone more confident. And Aplodicus was the cocky dickhead from day one. But even Aplodicus, he was cocky, but early on, when he was more focused on like thieving and like quiet assassination, he wasn't a great hand-to-hand combatant, and he knew that. And I played him like, oh no, I'm not going to fight this big dude in a bar. He'll kick my ass. Like, so I've played non-confident characters before. And then Raiden, the other character I was saying, was like the Legolas-y guy. He didn't use swords. He was a polearm guy. So I guess I've played the span of melee to magic, and I know I like melee more just because it feels more streamlined in actual combat, and I kind of like the physical, like mental play of it more. So yeah, I don't necessarily go for crazy range with my characters. I mostly go for like personality subtleties if I'm gonna make someone different. I have more fun playing like that. Not to say you'll never see a unconfident character from me. I think it just hasn't come up. Well, it has. Of the 3 player characters I've played on stream, one of them was very unsure of herself for most of that episode until she was level 18.
Yeah.
I gotta rewatch that.
I was so glad that happened, because then it was just like, hey guys, remember? Oh shit, firebolt. Fireball.
When I went and I pulled back the bow, and as we're like pulling up to where the first set of goblins are, and I just like pull it up to the sky, don't even look, just shoot it, and it just goes and lands right on him.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
Cool.
But all right,
Well,
we're now at 2 hours 15,
fun.
so we're gonna wrap up. If you want to keep hanging out with us later into the night, JD and I will likely be on our own platforms. I'll probably take a break for like half an hour, 45 minutes right now, and go like make dinner to the sequel.
I'm in
And-
stream mode right now, so I'll be back. I'll be on in about 5 minutes while I just like reorganize my table a little bit and jump in.
But
I'll go to sleep because I'm probably gonna stream again in like 12 hours. So.
we will see you guys around. Thank you so much for joining us.
Stream?
As-
No, I'm gonna stream again in like 12,
Okay.
11 hours. I might stream tomorrow. We'll see.
But thank you guys so much for joining us and
Yes,
actually
this
giving
was
us enough questions and prompts to have us talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes with essentially no pause.
Absolutely.
It felt like it flew. I had a ton of fun.
Me too.
And I can't wait to see you guys next week. We should be back on this Friday, the 28th, for our regularly scheduled Echoes of Chaos game. So
Tell your friends. We
tell
wanna
your
do this.
friends.
Share it around.
If you can tell your friends, get people over here, we could start building some stuff, and we could be doing this on a weekly, bi-weekly basis instead of when we just don't have a game. So if you love this content, please go tell your friends. And
All of that.
all of that.
Likes, the subscribes, the notification bells, the stuff. You know the stuff if you're here. Do the stuff. We will see you all on Friday.